warm welcome back then. Day 4, Royal Ascot 2020. Getting right towards the business end now of the week's festival. Superb action it's been. You're watching Racing Post Live in conjunction with the Betfair Exchange. Myself, Dave Orton. Welcome back to Bruce Millington.
Hi, Dave.
Long week.
Yeah, but fun.
Absolute fun. You know what? We're having a proper crack here, aren't we? We're having just good fun. No, it's not much more than that. It's just all fun all the way.
I enjoyed the shows yesterday. You don't get much assistance from the saddle, do you, during racing, eh?
I'll tell you what.
Old matey boys punting away in silence,
I missed you a bit yesterday on that front. Des Scarhill's back in the studio, people. That caused a ruckus, didn't it? Everyone loved it.
There might be a tremendous late bid, you never know.
There's going to be a tremendous late bid. Yeah, well, listen, Bruce will be back on the comms answering all your questions. Get your questions in, #RP Live. Also back, we're welcoming the big hitter himself, all the way from Dublin. Barry Orr is with us. Let's have a look. Where is he? There he is. Dressed Down Friday, he called it. If you were with us on the first 2 days, he was up in his top hat and his tails. A little bit more lightweight today, a little bit more lackadaisical. Nice and easy day, is it, Barry?
Yeah, it is for sure. The top hat and tails had to go back to Mossbros sometime, so we're kicking on now with just a bit like yourselves, nice and casual in there. It's a chill out day. It looks difficult to find winners today, but it's good to be back with you boys.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that, Bruce. Now, come on, let's talk about the punting. We started off when you came in, and I said to you on Wednesday, "How's it gone?" You weren't sure. You ended up okay on Wednesday, I seem to remember, but it's
just been it's been a tough week. I mean, I thought I'd absolutely cracked it yesterday. I backed Highland Chief. Our colleague Keith Melrose put that one up at 20-1. So I thought, well, this is it, great.
Yeah.
First race, though, yet another hard luck story. I'm having too many hard luck stories. I had the first, the second, and the fourth in a tri-cast for £1. Now, the first was 20-1, second was 9-1, the actual third was 7-2, and the tri-cast paid £800.
Right.
So imagine how much more it would have paid with a 33-1 shot. It got beat that much for third.
Well, we're talking 4 figures, aren't we? Well into 4
Oh,
figures.
God, yeah, it would have been 2.5, 3 grand. So that was a blower, and then it all went downhill from there. So,
we've had Paul Keeley, we've been using him on the show. He went 0 from 15, wasn't he? But he was back with Mountain Angel yesterday. Keel's obviously a battleground as well. Spoke to him this morning. His pecker was up. He's absolutely going for it again. My sleeves are rolled up. We're going to find a few winners today. I've got a good feeling about it. Have you?
No.
What about you, Barry? Who's the big lay today? Shall we get that out of the way?
Oh, I'm going to take on a couple in the Commonwealth Cup. I'm going to take on Pierre Lapin and I'm going to take on Kamari. So I'll be dutching them in the lay side. I'll also be taking on. I think that's the kind of from a lay point of view. That's what I'll be doing in the Commonwealth Cup.
Some speedy, classy sorts for Barry. We've got the radar on. We go far and wide with this show, you know. I was given a message earlier on, and we asked to read it out because we got a message from California, believe it or not. I guess if you want some domestic action, we're the ones that you can, we're all online, aren't we? Facebook and YouTube channels. We know you're out there. And Ed Commins from California, he says, watching on YouTube from California, keep up the innovation even post-lockdown. We will be. Great stuff and very insightful, much more insightful than some other channels he's trying to watch. So listen, thanks very much, Ed. Happy days in California.
He's up early, isn't he? It's an 8-hour time difference. So it's
yeah.
Let me see now. Yeah, it's not even. It's 5:30 in the morning.
Have you got your world clock there?
No, but I've got a friend who lives in Los Angeles, so I always have to try and work out when they're awake. So if I want to text them, as opposed to waking them up in the middle of the night.
We'd love to hear from you wherever you are on the globe. Get your questions in then. #RP Live. We'll give you shouts out, social comments. We'd love to see where you're going. We've had one race already, Bruce, haven't we? And it's fair to say it was a rather impressive winner. Art Power.
Extremely impressive, extremely well backed. 6-4 favourite, absolutely bolted up and never looked like doing anything else, did it? It's yet another really impressive horse for Tim Easterby, one for the North, and SDS getting off the mark. So he'll be breathing a sigh of relief.
Very much so, yeah. We got the feeling on the show yesterday as we were closing in, on Thursday, we were like, SDS, you're going to be, all these big jockeys that haven't managed to get one over the line yet. I mean, it's amazing how things can turn during the week. Jim Crowley, what an absolute week he's having. He's got LR Cam, of course, in one of the big races today. And, I mean, that actually looks like a fantastic race at the Hardwick, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the highlight of the day, isn't it?
Do you think so?
Yeah,
Over the Commonwealth Cup?
Yeah, I'm not that mad on the Commonwealth Cup this year. It's the 6th running, and I think it's easily the weakest. We've been spoilt by some brilliant races not so down the years. We've only had 5 years of it, but I think this is time may tell that it's not, but I just feel like the sprint division as a whole now, if you take Batash out, it's kind of
All
gone
to
into
play
a
for.
little bit of a lull. And yeah, we are waiting for something to emerge and challenge Battash. But right now, I think that, and I think the Diamond Jubilee tomorrow, they're both pretty weak.
Interesting stuff.
But very intriguing nonetheless. You know, they're really, really interesting betting heats.
And the weather, we should mention that. We were a bit worried yesterday when we was going to keep going on to Friday and then maybe Saturday as well. Could take the slow by 1.5 secs. That in the first race, and they came down the middle again, which was interesting. So the draws maybe gone up a little bit. He was drawn high to Fav, wasn't he, that won? But he sort of made he made the surface look like good ground, and that's not a bad time at all.
No, that's right. I think where we're at now officially is soft, good to soft on the round, and good to soft on the straight. But I think that it'll be good, and it'll be proper good by tomorrow. So I don't think there'll be any excuses. And yet, extraordinarily, some horses have already been taken out because they didn't fancy the ground. I mean, Stouty's taken the joint favourite for the Wokingham out. You had that Wooded coming out as well. Now, weren't sure whether that was travel problems or the ground, but, you know, what are you after if this isn't right for you? I don't
Foreign
quite get
raiders haven't really. We obviously haven't had that much of an international flavour, but Wes Ward's have run a bit down, haven't they? And it was Graffard, Woody's trainer, who was just saying, my two the other day, Celestin yesterday never turned up, did he? It's not a usual year where they can come over and maybe acclimatise. They've got to do it all very quickly.
Do you know, I was checking through the accounts yesterday, and I noticed I'd got my money back on Celestin. Someone was 5 places.
Is that
I just
right?
assumed I'd done my
Was
money.
he fifth? I hardly even cited him during
I
the
didn't.
race.
I gave that one up. I was so pleased to see that one come back.
We have to mention, of course, Strad the Magnificent.
Sorry, what's his name?
Stradivarius.
Oh, you got it right today.
I knew you were going to do this. Only you would do this.
No.
Anyone else would be nice and kind to me and say, Dahlia Dahlia, Stradivarius.
Stradivarius. I was like, he's discovered a new racehorse.
Is it Stradivarius, Barry? And were you with him? Were you with him?
You call him whatever you like. You call him champ. I think that's the easiest moniker for him, because what he did yesterday was just spectacular, considering the doubt that in no small part that John Godson has sowed in everyone's mind about the horse not liking the ground. If anything, he seems to thrive on that ground. He's enjoying, as he gets older, getting his toe in a little bit. He absolutely decimated the field yesterday. Magnificent performance. And he's got leading's light record of 4 Gold Cups in sight now.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And Neil Hubbard, who was...
should I say Yates, obviously, 4 Gold Cups.
Just we don't want to get too technical on this, do we? But I was really excited about what the handicapper was going to make of him. You know, Paul Curtis et al. That we've got, and they've rated him 125, which is the best Gold Cup, obviously, since Yates. Yates is 126. He's won one more, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So he kind of played a straight bat there.
And I feel slightly nasty for being all salty about your pronunciation, because the main thing from that race is it was an astonishing performance. And
magnificent.
Do you know what, Dave? What I love most about big races being won like that is that they are the kind of performances that make people fall in love with horse racing. If you saw that on the news, or you're following it, or you're not really that into racing, or you're young and you're getting into it, and you see something like that, you fall in love with the game. And you never forget those early heroes, do you?
It's hard to remember a Gold Cup where Frankie's, where any horse has just come to the 2 furlong pole and you just got, it's a case of when he pressed the button.
It just deserved 70,000 people cheering him home, didn't it?
Absolutely. And I think on ITV the viewing figures were fantastic as well, weren't they? So absolutely. Listen, we're back and we're going. And it's time to look at the first race here on RP Live. Let's have a look at the 150 then. It is the Albany Stakes. And here we go. Listen, there's a few angles in here. Barry, take it away. Mother Earth at the top. She was an eye-catcher, wasn't she, on debut for Team Ballydoyle?
Yeah, she certainly was, but she's priced accordingly now as well. She's just a little over 3-1 at the moment on the Betfair exchange. 6.8 Golden Melody with James Doyle. Outside of that, there's just Andre Azzini's mount has come in for some support. He's a 6-1 chance. But yeah, it's an interesting race in that there's a lot of pace in the lower numbers as opposed to the high numbers. Now, obviously, in the first race, the winner was drawn 19. I think the second was drawn 21, and the fourth horse was drawn in the high teens as well. So I know you're saying they came out the middle of the track, but there still just seem off the back of the first race to be a bit of a draw bias for that stand side. The fancied horses here seem to be drawn in the low numbers. Obviously, you've got Mother Earth drawn 5, Willabelle, who went forward in Yarmouth. Now, I don't think she'd have to go forward here. She's currently, she's drawn 1. She's a 13 chance at the moment, or 12, 11-1 on the Betfair exchange. That's what I fancy in the race. I thought she'd run well. She ran very green in Yarmouth with Frankie in the plate. He stays on her today, and I think obviously full of unexposed fillies this race, but I don't mind taking a chance with her for John Gosson.
Do you want to get trading? Shall we get trading? That's what we do here on the show. Barry tells us, and Bruce, we get technical. Here's the screen up there. So Neil Hubbard clawed a bit back yesterday, Barry. He had a really, really good afternoon. I think we got Stradivarius at 11 to 10.
There's going to be a swear box or a ver box.
Yes, exactly. Get it right, Dave. Come on. There's been some interesting pronunciations this week. Okay, yes. So we're doing well, actually. So where are we going to play here then, Barry?
I'm just going to play a very simple win bet here. So she's 11.5 at the moment, Bruce. I'm happy enough to take that. If you just click on it, there's plenty of liquidity in the race.
This is Willabelle, isn't it? Just to be sure.
Number 14, Willabelle.
Okay.
Yeah,
How
there's
much are we
plenty of
having?
liquidity there. It's dead simple. Just click where it says, and the blue back column. Actually, all this chat, she's gone from 12.5 into 11 now. So less chat and more action.
How much?
Get the
What's your
50
stake,
quid
Barry?
on Lively,
50?
lads. 50 quid on Lively, Bruce.
Let's chat and more action.
We're done,
Love it.
Barry. Don't you worry about that, mate. Got the hurry up there, but we're in.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, Ross, yesterday, there was a massive faux pas, wasn't there? He didn't do the keep bet, did he, on the Battleground lay? And it ended up working out well, didn't it?
It couldn't have gone any better, absolutely. That was a cheeky one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Did you see that, Barry?
No, I missed that.
Neil wanted to basically. Ross was being Carol Vorderman, like I am today, and Neil wanted a keep bet lay on Battlegrounds, and Ross forgot to hit the keep bet.
He did.
button, so it didn't get laid, and it won. So sometimes you get lucky, don't you? But I wouldn't dare to try and mess up one of your bets, Barry, because I think you mean business today. So we're on. We got 50 quid at 10 to 1. So nice monkey for charity if Willabelle gets it done.
Yeah, stall one, of course. Onassis and Hayley Turner in the Sandringham again for Charlie Fellows. Stall one. Everything looked against it, didn't it? And you just think to yourself, well, keep it simple. He's obviously going to lay one out for that now every season, isn't he?
Brilliant.
That was, and again, another amazing story on the week. Willabelle, let's have a little word then about that. Frankie Dettori, I covered the Yarmouth race about that. Some proper early speed that showed, didn't it, before it got picked up by one of William Haggis's. William Haggis has got Golden Melody in here. She's been solid with James Doyle. He's on 3 winners for the week. I've gone for Setar, talking about people who are having lots of winners. Roger Varian, 4-timer, he landed yesterday. How impressive was Calusi in that handicap? That was ridiculous, wasn't it? I mean, the form just looks absolutely fantastic. The time was really, really good. And I like this filly, Bruce. I think she did everything wrong at Newmarket. You remember on the Guineas weekend, that 2-year-old day that we had on the Thursday, the opening of the 4 days, you had to be on the rail, you had to be prominent. She fell out the boxes, she came wide, and she still won as she liked. Yeah. So she'll do for me.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I've gone with Golden Melody. I just thought the Haydock win was decent. It's not a race I'm confident on.
Yeah.
But I just thought she's getting out to 6.2. She's just about backable. I've got a quick trivia question for you. What is Mathieu Palusier's link with this race?
Ooh, did he win it? He won it with something, didn't he?
Trained the winner 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Different league at 2021. I've got to say, looking through the trends, and the last 10 years, this isn't really a race that you're going to bother tattooing on your hand for future reference.
That turned over Alpha Centauri, that horse.
Did it really?
I remember because I remember it was on it, absolutely, yeah.
I still haven't heard of him. Mathieu Palusier?
Yeah, his French trainer came over in the yellow and the black colours, yeah. He was a trainer of 2-year-olds.
Blimey.
Yeah, so there you
Okay.
go. Yes. All right, so shall we see what Paul Keeley thinks about the opener?
Aidan O'Brien won the Cheshire Stakes with a horse that was beaten first time out, and he might do the same in the Albany with Mother Earth. She was only second on her debut, but she shaped really, really well. And she's by a horse called Zophany, who had good form on soft ground, gets plenty of horses who like soft ground, and her Dam won on soft ground too. So there's plenty to like there. She's at the head of the market, and if you want to back an outsider, then Mick Shannon's Mahali is the one at a much bigger price.
Another horse that did plenty wrong at Newmarket on that Guineas weekend was finishing strongly. Long time since Mick Shannon's had a good one, isn't it? This is a half sister to something called Opal Tiara, which he did really, really well with, a Group 2 horse. But a long time since Mick's had a real top 2-year-old. It's the yard you used to associate with Precocity.
Indeed. Actually, I was talking to a proper, fully fledged section lister today. You know, those guys who just spend their whole time looking at those little segmented times. I mean, to me, life's too short for that. But, you know,
Right.
if you can crack it and you know what you're doing, there's a way in. But, and he's very sweet on this Mahali. Apparently did a good sectional in the course of that run.
it's like Neo in the Matrix, isn't it? You can just see all the figures differently.
Do you dip your toes into sectionals?
Not really, not really. I've got some colleagues that do, and I tend to be a bit sort of cheat sheet on that front, I must admit.
But I still, after all these years, want someone to write the definitive piece on here's why sectionals are important, because I've never ever read it.
Not
and
quite
James
an idiot's
Willoughby and
guide,
Simon
but-
Rowlands,
yeah.
they're brilliant guys, and I massively respect what they do, but they've just never. I don't think sectionals are ever going to burst into the mainstream. I'm afraid. I know they're a huge part of American form study, but I just don't think British punters do it. A tiny group of people at the very top of the kind of punting pyramid get involved, but it doesn't do it for me. Barry, do you ever get involved with sectionals?
Yeah, I think it takes a lot to bake a cake, Bruce, and there's a whole host of things that punters have available to them, and if they want to dip in and out, they should do so. But I think definitely sectional timings and timings in general help contextualize what a lot of people already suspect, or help to put shape on certain form lines for people that for punters like us that haven't got it. So yeah, I think there's a whole host of ingredients that goes into forming an opinion about a race and about a fancy, and that's one of the things that would definitely come into it. I'd always put an eye to the time form ones when I'm having a look at a card. Yeah.
Takes a lot to bake a cake. I like that, Barry. And if you bake a cake in whatever way you're doing it with your punting, let us know how you're getting on out there. Let us know what you look for in a race. Hashtag RP Live, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. We're over the moon with all the viewing figures and the feedback this week. It's been absolutely fantastic, and we still got 2 days left of the meat on the bones of that.
14 races left.
That's
Dave.
fantastic, isn't it? Because 8 races tomorrow. We'll be covering 7 of them, won't we? We'll be on slightly earlier tomorrow. We're going to be on air at 1 o'clock. Brilliant link for that. Shall we talk about Wes Ward's runner here? We've talked about some international flavours. Flying Aletha. Barry, I remember speaking to you maybe Tuesday about this, and I said when I was in lockdown, I saw this win. It absolutely hosed up. He's had 9 runners in this, Wes. Only 1 has placed. Pretty easy to back, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. She won a 3-runner race, didn't she, that night? I think she beat her stablemate, was called Lime, that finished second. Was an odds-on chance, funny enough, was 5-2 on. But we had him on the Racing Only Better podcast, and he seemed quite keen there, but he's very bullish about all his horses. It's different this year. They've shipped him from Miami. He hasn't been over to marshal any of the training either. So they just haven't set the world alight so far. He's had a couple of fancied ones already this week that disappointed. Although she is around where the pace is, like she's going to be barreled out. They know how to run one way, these horses, out in front. And there's going to be plenty of pace from stall 3. Mother Earth just 2 stalls away from her in stall 5.
It can be dangerous, can't it? When sometimes they come across and they're not going too well, to just suddenly think, oh, forget all his horses this year, because it doesn't work like that. They're all individuals. They're not linked to each other. They happen to have the same trainer.
Was
but
it
it's
Sandringham he won with a horse once? Do you remember with James Spencer on it?
Conquistador or something?
It's now down in Australia with Gay Waterhorse, that old. And it was unbelievable. It beat the Fav as well. And just when you sort of torn up your Wes slips, in it goes. Absolutely. It's just,
I think that's the only runner he's had that's won beyond 6 furlongs.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a surprise. I mean, they're just all absolute speedballs,
can't
aren't
have too
they?
many runners beyond.
No,
it,
he wouldn't.
He wouldn't look into. Dan Dalla is quite interesting. Drawn 14 for Carl Burke. Ben Curtis could be a big day for Ben. He's got a good shout in the last race as well, which we'll get to on Indianapolis for James Given. Of the high numbers, Barry, she looks like the one that's sort of hardening up a little bit.
Yeah, very much so. It'll be interesting. Like I heard you talk earlier, you don't think there is a draw bias after the first race? Just looking at the first 4 places, it screams to me that there is.
Well, I'd say that. I'd say there is. I'd say there has been all week. I mean, again, is it a real one based on the track being softer on the far side, or a perceived one whereby the jockeys make sure there isn't because they're all coming across? But I definitely think you'd be much more comfortable backing horses drawn middle or high, and the debate is actually middle or high.
Yeah.
But having said that, in a 14-run race like this, even though it's obviously 6 furlongs, there's no room for error, and you can't start plotting your own course too deliberately. I do think there's probably scope for those fancied ones to come across to an extent. So I think the bias exists, but I think it's more relevant in bigger fields than this.
Well, if you got a Willabelle in stall 1, Ping, she went out like an absolute dart at Yarmouth on her debut, and Flying Aletha in 3, as Barry says, they will lead the way, I think.
Yeah, but the early skirmishes are going to be interesting. How much do they look to jump out and plot a course across, a gradual course, or do they drop out and try and come from behind? So I think, you are right, Barry. It is well worth flagging up because you've got Ryan Moore in 5, the Doyler in 2, Frankie in 1, and Buick in 3. These are the senior guys, all knowing that they've been dealt a 5 against an ace, and they need to do something about it.
Isn't it remarkable how no one tried that rail? And yesterday, Keels was in earlier, and he was saying, "Why aren't they doing it? Why isn't someone just doing it?"
Well, Mountain Angel, I suppose, did in the end, albeit it's over a longer distance, didn't it? And that worked.
Course,
I don't know. I mean, we have seen some horses, haven't we? I think there were 4 in the Hunt Cup that tried to stick down the far side and it didn't work. But
Maidani springs to mind from the Silver Hunt Cup that ran an absolute blinder on the far side. So look, listen, we're going to find out a little bit more. Don't forget, tomorrow we've got 2 Wokenhams tomorrow, just the 2 Wokenhams. We've had 2 Hunt Cups as well. Anything to note, Barry, just before they go in?
Golden Melody relatively strong, but all the money now for DeAndre Adzini horse, Seth. Is that the one that you were fancying, Roger Varian?
Sitar.
Yeah, Sitar looks
it's
like
almost fav on the exchange.
Favourite. Yeah, it looks like it could go off favourite.
Like I say, it did absolutely everything wrong on its debut, and Roger Varian. I mean, let's face it, if you were this horse's day, massive day for Roger. I think if you were attached with that stable, you'd have been looking at Friday surely as the big day for them. What with who's the guy in the last year's Hardwick? Defoe.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Mine just goes, doesn't it?
I know.
But Pierre Lapin as well. That's their big poster boy for the year ahead, I think. Couple more to go in then. Bruce, you ready for your calls?
No.
You've done a sterling job, man, this week.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, there is a lot of money now for Sitar, isn't there?
There is. His actual fate, he's the shortest price on the exchange, and also Dan Della is very short as well. Interesting market this. Willabelle's gone out, unfortunately. Barry, we've missed the price there, mate.
Has it?
Only a couple of points. If it wins, we'll be delighted.
Average SP on that race. Let's have a little talk on this race. I mean, this usually goes near a fancied runner. You've had just 3 of the last 10 have been in double figures, and different league was the 20-1 shot that you mentioned as well. So a 1 next to your name has seemingly been very important indeed. Roger Varian 2 from 4 in the race. Punters starting to really attach on to the Varian stable. Are you doing just that? Let us know. How did you get on with Art Power in the first? Loads of good judges were on it. It's 6-4 shot in a 5 furlong 3-year-old handicap.
Won like a 1-6 shot.
It did, didn't it? I mean, they were thinking about going Commonwealth Cup, so I guess it was all there. And Sylvester de Souza, yes, indeed, how the things can change.
But if you look at that run, Dave, I think it would have gone very close there.
Well, fair enough, yeah. You'd have had to be...
He's got a quote of 14 for Nunthorpe.
Has he? And that's a race you'd have to think that they might be going towards. Very interesting. So maybe we'll see him.
There's obviously money for punters are latching on to Varian having been so hot yesterday, because this Sitar has been smashed. It's 3-1 favourite now, and it's 4.2 on Betfair Exchange. It's astonishing gamble, this. They're really getting stuck in. It's funny, we've been saying earlier in the week that the gambles haven't really been that big this week, but this is a proper one, Barry, this, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so, Bruce. It was matched at a high of 8-1. There was over £3,000 matched as a high of 8-1, so it's into 3-1 now, so... takes substantial amount of money in quite a liquid market. 1.6 million matched already on the Betfair Exchange in this race, so it would take a lot of money to drive that down.
Happy days, yeah, and I think we can say that about Art Power in the first as well, can't we? 2's into 6-4 just before the off. That's a proper heavyweight move as well. Okay, last couple going in then. Get fingers on the buzzers if you're playing in running for the 5 furlong. For the 6 furlong Albany Stakes, I should say. It's just thrown up some real smart fillies in the past. A Diea that gave David Egan his first win at the meeting last year. She went on to win the Rockfell later on. Lots of cues going forward. What a pleasure to be talking about some future targets finally back in racing as well. Then first race for you today on the Friday of Royal Ascot is the 6 furlong Albany Stakes. Just one still trying to go in there. Is that
Golden
Ventura
Melody?
Vision.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Ventura Vision, yeah.
Colours.
SDS, who won the first race, is a big price to win this. What price?
They're going without her, are they?
They're going to give her one last chance, I think. Yeah, looks like they're going without. Then over to you, Bruce.
Okay, 6 furlongs the trip for the Albany Stakes, and they are off and running. And let's see what happens to those runners, those fancied runners drawn low on the far side. Well, the Wesley Ward Flying Alita has come flying out of the stalls, and already Buick is looking over his left shoulder to see what's happening. Likewise, Golden Melody, James Doyley doesn't want to be that far out with the white face. Making hay on the near side are the Cheveley Park colours of Undertake, and also going very well, Follow Suit for Clive Cox. But it's Flying Alita for Wesley Ward, who's absolutely flying along. Golden Melody has rested second place. On that one's outside, we've got Cirrus. Also going well on the outside is Mahale, but with 2 furlongs to go as we've reached the halfway stage. Flying Alita is now currently coming under a ride and really cruising in second. Is that Golden Melody? I think it's Golden Melody, yeah. Entering the equation now is Mother Earth. Here comes Dandala down the centre, and Dandala takes it up now from Golden Melody. Plugging on well on the near side is Undertake. Mother Earth is trying to get into it, but not doing well. This Dandala for Kieran Burke is absolutely flying away. In second, it's Undertake. The bookie's going to love this. Mother Earth might just catch second.
Setar.
Really running on quickly on the near side is Setar, but it's absolutely all over. This thing is absolutely dotted up. Dandala by 5. I think Setar got second, and I think Mother Earth got third. Wow, what an impressive victory.
Your first time on turf then for Carl Burke. Goodness gracious me, what a huge day. And Nick Bradley racing as well. They've always tended to have some really good horses for decent prices that they buy them for. Let's just try and see what this one was bought for. They came down the middle, guys. Just 22 grand, just 22,000 euros they paid for this. If you saw it at Newcastle, it did win cosy, but another high draw, I guess. But it was all about that arrowhead formation. Setar's absolutely flown from out of nowhere, and so has Mother Earth as well. This was just absolutely different league stuff, wasn't it? Fascinating.
It's won 6 lengths. It's won 6 lengths. That's absolutely astonishing. If you were getting 4 places, I don't know if you did, Undertake for Roger Varian, so he's had second and fourth, which keeps his hot run going. But none of them could lay a glove on Dandala. That was astonishing.
Yeah, Ben Curtis. Would that be a first Royal winner for Ben? I'm trying to think about it. Like I said, he's got a big hope in the last as well. He was on the all-weather in the winter. He would have been, he's got the asterisk next to his name, hasn't he? Like, top all-weather jockey or whatever. A bit like Brian Hughes with our jump season, unfortunately. And listen, he massively deserves this. Carl Burke, we know since he's had the licence back, they've had some really, really good horses in their hands, and Newcastle once again well advertised.
Absolutely. Barry, what was the story from Dandala's in-running graph?
Not a whole lot to report, and when she hit the front, it was all over from a furlong and a half out, wasn't it? She's done it very impressively. We've had 2 convincing winners today of the first 2 races, and like you said, another one that was drawn high. Although I'm not sure the draw really had a significant effect there, considering they did come up the centre of the track. Aidan O'Brien's horses ran on to finish third, Mother Earth, and Setar squeezes into second place, just nuts her for second place. The winner gets introduced into the 1,000 guineas market at 16 to 1 on Betfair.
16? It's not a race that normally throws up classic winners, is it? But, you can't do much more than that, can you? I'd love to see again Andrea Atzani's path through that race, because he's drawn 6, but he's come widest of all.
It's probably cost him about 2 lengths, isn't it? I would probably say. Yeah, he had to come all the way to the stand side on Setar, and she did pretty much.
Do you remember the starting thing to Dad's Army with those arrows with the flags? And there's one that sort of curves around the back, isn't there? Yeah. And that must have been Andrea.
That was Setar. I love it. Absolutely. Yes, quite right. Arthur Lowe mentioned there. Fantastic. Flying Alita. A word for her of the disappointments. Just out like a light, wasn't it, Wes Wards?
Yeah. And when she gave way, I thought momentarily that Golden Melody might come through and do something. Let's see what price Golden Melody got in running.
She was very keen early on.
3.1, a little bit at 3.1, so no one was getting carried away with that.
They'll be a bit disappointed with that, I think. Val Policello ran well for Paul and Oliver Cole, who of course took the first race yesterday on Thursday. That's probably one to take out of it as well. But as eye catchers go, there weren't really that many, were there? I think it was, as Barry said, rather uneventful. One thing I would say about the 2 races so far that we have seen, rather difficult to make up pace. Keep Busy, who was second or third, I think, in the previous race. Paul Keeley's tip in the opener, if you're looking in the members section. She looked like she was going to get swallowed up. They just kept going, the placed horses, behind Art Power as well. So perhaps mark up slightly the horses that came from way off the pace there. But hey, Carl Burke, he's got one. They'll be looking at races now, going forward, something like the Cheveley Park, something like that.
Oh, God, yeah. They'll be aiming high. And I tell you what, one Racing Post tipster who's just relentlessly tapping out the winners. We mentioned him on Wednesday, Kevin Morley.
Yes.
Straight in there with Dan Dalla. That's a really, really good sus. Kevin Morley's 10-year trends page in the Racing Post. Or, again, it's something you get on Members Club. Fantastic. Yeah. Just one of the many goodies that you get bundled in. Is really worth watching. He does a brilliant job with it. Yeah, and let's see who's gone for in the next. Eye of Heaven.
Eye of Heaven. Ooh, big five, isn't it? We'll get to Barry about that in a minute, but it tees me up beautifully.
Queen Mary for tomorrow, Dave.
You what, Barry?
The winner was entered up for the Queen Mary tomorrow.
Was it
5
indeed?
furlongs. Yeah, she won over 5 or 6, wouldn't she?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, very much indeed. Can't wait for the Saturday card. That looks like, as I said to Bruce when he was in on Wednesday, the best Saturday card I've seen in a long, long time. Certainly for many a year at Royal Ascot, I think. That teased me up beautifully, though, of course, to tell you about our members' option package. £10 for just 3 months of action. Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, we've been saying this all week. I've been saying it all shows I've been doing. But listen, it's never been like that before, and it won't last. So get involved. Promo code RACING is back. If you're not a member, you get absolutely everything in there. Tom Segal's had a good week as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's had an 18-1 winner, 12-1 winner.
Yeah,
he's done really, really well.
When I was speaking to Keels earlier, we've been talking through the week about when these tipsters agree. Indianapolis in the last, if you're not sure about that, he said, I thought I'd found one, Keels said Indian. Of course, at 6 o'clock when the members section opens up for the following day, there's Tom's selection. I've gone for it as well. We're all like, we're clever, aren't we? But there's still a bit of juice in that.
What do you all see, all you judges, in something like that?
That's interesting
because it's uncanny how often you or Kills or Tom or whoever thinks they've sussed one and then find out everyone else has gone for it.
Yeah, you just try and look away from the market leaders. You start by a race by trying to get the market leader beaten, and then you look for someone like course form. For example, Indianapolis in the last. He's won his only run around Ascot before. James Givens in form. The ground should be fine. There's still some juice in his handicap mark. And more to the point, the price looks slightly bigger than it should be. So you think you've been a little bit clever. You think you've gone for it. I think Hamish is another one they might have agreed with in the Hardwick as well for William Haggis as well. It's uncanny how often it happens, and I'm forever having to tell mates and people that ask me, they don't sit next to each other in the office. They've never ever done that as far as I'm aware.
Way back in the day they did. I used to have all the judges there. Well, just watching the replay of the first race, and you can see that Satahi's really dropped out, really exaggerated tactics by Andrea Arzani, and that explains why he's been able to come so far wide. But in the early half of the race, he's still tracking the pace on the outside, on the far side. So that's an interesting one. Yeah, I mean the Wesley Ward filly, she's shown blistering early pace, but unfortunately she's a quarter horse, if anything. Look, this is where he makes the move, Andrea.
Of course, he's had to go around.
And in actual fact as well, Ben Curtis has had to really fight for a gap at halfway there. I mean, it could easily have had the door closed on him there, but it was brave. And the way she's quickened from 3 furlongs to 2 is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. It's ridiculous, honestly. It's a phenomenal performance. Really, really eye-catching performance. I would also put in a word for Willabelle, Barry's selection, because she's stayed down the supposedly unfavoured middle to far side all the way and has actually run a reasonable race to finish 6th. So don't give up on her. She's plugged on quite well and definitely had the disadvantage side of the course.
Yeah, the Cheveley Park horse as well, I give a mention to her. Undertake as well, Roger Varian's unconsidered second string with David Egan on, the partnership that won the race last year. She was bang there until half a furlong out. In fact, she made Dandella work a little bit, so maybe someone like the Malcolm at Glorious Goodwood, which we'll be covering here on RP Live next month. Whew, okay, so we're one race down. How did you get on? Did you snag it? Was it a big price win? It was solid in the market. Dandella, Ben Curtis, we just can see on our screens he's being interviewed now. Absolutely delighted. I've got a feeling that's Ben's first winner. We'll just check up on that. We'll check up the time as well so we can back it up at the first and the second races because we've got another sprint coming up for you. It's the Norfolk Stakes coming up at 2:25. Shall we move on, guys, from that sizzling performance? Because to my eyes, this looks like a pretty classy Norfolk Stakes coming up.
Yeah, it does. It's interesting. I mean, obviously, it's slightly different this year because they've all only just had one or, in one case, 2 runs. But let's see who is to the fore. Eye of Heaven, sub 2-1. And Lipizan and Ryan Moore, 4.2. The Learjet is 5.8. And then it is double figures, the rest with Imperial Force being the shortest of them. I've tried and suss one at a big price in most of these 2-year-old races. You'll see my near miss on Wednesday.
Yes, indeed.
This
right.
time, though, I can't get away from the front three, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was Muala, wasn't it? But behind tactician. Muka, that's right. Yeah, he's filmmaker has definitely got one there, hasn't he? I was speaking to Dave Jennings about that, and he thought, I thought Bruce was going to come and get me on tactician at one point. Barry, shall we see where you're playing in the Norfolk Stakes 5 furlong burn up the straight?
I like the favourite. I think we've very few hard form lines to go through due to the nature of the racing this season so far. But Aya Heaven, when you see what he did to Tactical, now albeit Tactical didn't get the run of the race in Newmarket, he had to. He just didn't go through the gap, and he wasn't knocked about either by Oisin Murphy. But he's franked the form handsomely already this week, and even the horse that was fourth, Get It, in the Windsor Castle, or the horse that finished fourth in the Windsor Castle from draw 1, Get It, ran well too. So I have him for me, but I think he's going to be a bigger price than that. A lot of people think that he won't go on the ground. I've heard some people say that his knee action is quite high, and that he'd want better ground, and he always moves. The trainer's saying that he always moves like a horse that likes better ground. So what I'm going to do, Bruce, I'm going to back it, but I'm going to select our own odds. So if you go to back all, if you click on the 296, and just tick it up to around, if you tick it up for me up to around the 310 mark.
Okay.
Yeah, 3.5, 310. I think we could get matched at around 310. I don't see, reading the market at the moment, there's £530,000 matched already. We've seen money for the Lear Jet. That's been really well supported. We've seen money for Lip Zanner of Aidan O'Brien's and Ryan Moore. So I'm happy enough. I think we'll get matched around the 205, 210. But we've put it in at 210 for now. We can reassess that. But just leave it up there for now, and we'll chat about it.
Just one little thing I need, Barry, the stake.
50, please. Bruce.
Okay, matey.
Confidence and Barry Orr.
He did look a very, very good horse, didn't he, in Newmarket this? Yeah. And like I said, the form's being franked by Tactical's win here the other day.
Let me just give you a little counter-argument here, Barry. Fate of the favourites. The last 10 favourites in the Norfolk Stakes have finished 6th, unplaced, 6th, 2nd, 5th, 3rd, 5th, 2nd, unplaced. Not a single favourite in the last 10 years. Does that scare you, Barry Orr?
No, who rode the winner of it last year?
That was Al Ali at 5s, wasn't it? Lanfranco,
and he's on this as well. So it doesn't matter to me about the stats around favourites in a race like this. For me, I think what trumps that all day long is the run in Newmarket where he convincingly beat Tactical. Tactical comes out in the Windsor Castle and beats them easily. He's won a very impressive winner, and for me that stacks up, and it's something we can't say about all the 2-year-old races we've seen this year.
Yeah, we could see form being franked all over the place today in some later races as well.
Who are you going for, Dave?
Well, I've gone for Lipizanza. Lipizana. Again, I'm here with the names, but that is a tricky one. Yeah, I like this guy. It's a race which Aidan O'Brien has a good record in. Just trying to remind myself of his last winner. It was Sioux Nation. That was a big surprise, wasn't it? 14-1, unbelievable. But he's had 10 runners in the past decade, 2 have won. This chap has been beat on his 2 starts, second in both of them. The first time in the opening Irish 2-year-old race, if you remember, and that was, I think, the last 2-year-old race before lockdown over there. He was really well fancied for that. That was on heavy ground. Their forms worked out from that. Poetic Flair, wasn't it, Barry, of Jim Bolgers, who just touched him off in that. I think they think a lot of that horse, don't they? Yeah,
they seem to. Yeah, obviously he's finished second in his 2 runs so far this season. He's by Uncle Modo. There must be a little bit of doubt about him on any sort of given the ground. Having said that, Aidan O'Brien wouldn't be bringing him over if he didn't think he'd give a good count of himself, and it's duly factored into his price. He's a bigger price than he would have been on firmer ground, that's for sure.
And wasn't Ryan fairly keen on him in his Betfair blog as well, Barry?
Yeah, he gave him a very favourable mention, yeah.
He's run to a race rating of 86 either time, but it was 6 furlongs last time. Lucky Vega beat him. Who was behind him that day? Battleground. So there's another big form line that some bubble is going to get burst there. I just think from stall 14 they'll keep it simple. I think a stiff 5 will be ideal. It was officially soft heavy when he made his debut, so I'm not worried about him on that front. He's been pretty solid in the market as well. The reason why I tried to take on Eye of Heaven, again I watched it back. Frankie didn't go for the whip with him. I agree with whoever was telling you about the action, Barry Orr. It looked like it was quite scratchy to me, not quite daisy cutter, which is the old saying about fast ground. But Exceed and Excel, I looked at his record at Ascot. It's not as good as you might think it is. He's a top all-weather sire at Exceeding Excel. You usually think about him on a sound surface.
And Dave, knee actions, the lower, the more daisy cutter, flat action, that's more conducive to fast ground. If it looks like it's doing knees up Mother Brown, it's
you
a
need
soft
hop
ground.
deep, absolutely.
Okay.
So that's what it is. Would your eye
hit it
pick that
hard.
up in the paddock at all?
No, it wouldn't.
I think we're done, Bruce, are we?
Yeah, we are. We're done at 3.1.
Nice.
The market's come in our favour there.
You think it's going to come back in, Barry, do you? Because Lipizzaner looks like he's going the other way now to me.
Yeah, that and the Learjet, there's money for both of them. So I think the favourite will meet its price at around 310, 325. I can't see it getting any better than that, any bigger than that. Just
Bruce,
with connections.
Your selection, please.
Well, I've gone for a horse drawn in 1. Trained by a guy who's on the cold list, Michael Bell, 36 runs without a win. So those are the negatives. On the plus side, he's solid in the market. I thought his debut was really, really good. He's been bought by Qatar Racing.
Yes, he has.
And his sire won this. Prince
good.
of Lear.
You're great, absolutely, for Robert Cowell.
Yeah. Wasn't it Prince of Lear beat? I think Prince of Lear beat a horse of Braveheart's called the Something Lion. The Last Lion, was it? And do you remember that year, 2016, Dave, where those two and one other really fast 2-year-old were all retired to stud, almost at an age before they were legally allowed to have sex, and everyone's going, "Is this some new trend that you can't retire horses to stud at 2?" But he's, there he is. 4 years later, he's still. He's one of those teenage dads who wears his tracky bottoms around the estate.
Yeah.
He's very young, but he's got his son into the same race that he won. So
That's a great memory I'm going to give you there.
well, I remember reading it and thinking at the time I really don't like the fact that they're retiring 2-year-olds to stud. That to me, you can't say it shouldn't be allowed, obviously, but I mean it's. You can't be having really good horses run at 2 and then we don't even get to see them at 3. It's bad enough when they retire them at the end of the second season. But anyway,
it's
the money's come for this now, lads.
Debate that. The last, this horse, interestingly, Michael Bell had the 4th in Eye of Heaven's race. It was a massive price. It was called Vedute. So he's got a line on this, and this has held its market all the way. Stall 1 wouldn't be ideal, but he's very, very pacey. They'll just let him go. I'm almost sure of that. And it looks like in the first 2 races, being up there is no bad thing whatsoever. Shall we see where King Keeley is playing in the Norfolk?
Eye of Heaven broke the juvenile track record at Newmarket on his debut, and that form has been franked with a runner-up Tactician winning in the Windsor Castle earlier in the week. It's obviously very good form, but the ground is a lot softer, so it's going to ask a different question about him. I would take a chance on Aidan O'Brien's Lipizzaner, who has run well twice, got beaten twice, but in a very, very good race last time. She was 3 places ahead of O'Brien's Chesham winner, and I think he's got a big chance.
Paul Keeley weighing in with me, Lipizzaner then. Dave Jennings, I spoke to him this morning, he was really keen on Eye of Heaven as well. It does look like a race that's quite difficult to play away from the market. Imperial Force is relatively interesting. Why? Because, of course, in the Windsor Castle, Andrew Balding came out and took it apart with Tactician, a big, really well-backed horse. And he had the second to a horse called Creative Force, who runs in tomorrow's Coventry. So, again, I watched back that video, can see why they're coming back to 5 as well. It's bigger than I thought.
I'm all over Andrew Balding today. I want him to have a great day. I really fancy a few. Mirando, I've gone for one at a huge price in the Commonwealth, and I also think he's got the most rock-solid place-only bet of the day. But all will be revealed.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think the negative with Eye of Heaven, everyone says, is the ground, but I'm not sure it's that soft.
And it has dried up, indeed. So listen, they're just ambling round the paddock. We've got a first social comment of the day. Let's have a look on the screen. Who's come and joined the party? Sam Gittins, welcome to the great, bizarre, grand thing that is Racing Post Live. We love it here. You've put a £3 each way on Nelson Gay.
Richard Hughes.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, again, Hughes, he's thrown a couple of darts so far, hasn't he? He had an unbeaten horse, I forget his name, in the Jersey yesterday, didn't quite get there.
He's had a good start to the season, though, hasn't he?
Yes, he has, absolutely. And you now would expect, I mean, this is the sort of horse that you would associate him with, isn't it? When he usually started training, everyone thought it'd be 5 furlong 2-year-olds. First of all, it wasn't quite the approach he adopted, was it? It was a very interesting approach. So this is a beaten favourite on its debut. It's drawn in 11. Okay, taking a chance by Maymas and just behind the Learjet, of course. So I guess if you like the Learjet, who is currently trading around about 4-1 on the industry SPs. 20-1 does look a bit big.
The Learjet's now uneasy. The money's really come for Lipizzaner, 3.65. Eye of Heaven's really solid at 2.96. Well played, Barry. I don't know how you do it. You're like Mystic Barry, aren't you? You've got this horse, it's 2.8, and you're like, I'll put it out to 3.1, we'll get it done at that. It just about touches 3.1 for long enough for your bet to get backed, and then it comes back in. How do you do it?
Yeah, it came into 286 at one stage, but like you say, Lipizzaner, the money's come for that. The weak one is the Learjet now, and I think it's 14 to or 11 to 1 bar, the top three in the market. That's just reading the market, Bruce, really, isn't it? But sometimes it comes for you, sometimes it goes against you. It looked like there was going to be money for the other two in it at that stage, and that just drives the price of the favourite out further. I'm
getting very paranoid. The moment I put up the Learjet, his price just absolutely
heads right out. Yeah, you need some confidence as well, don't you? Just talk about the time of the second race in the Albany. It was slow by best part of 4 seconds, really, so that's good to soft.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
So we are still talking about definite juice underfoot.
Yeah, because you certainly couldn't blame a lack of early pace, could you? It's probably breaking the 3 furlong track record.
Definitely not. So, yeah, if you think it is drying up for Eye of Heaven, maybe not just yet. Maybe not just yet. So, indeed, here we are on RP Live. It's been a great week so far. We've got so much drama to go. I'm hoping to see something special here from Lipizzaner. Bruce Millington on the Learjet for Michael Bell, who used to have a really good record over 2-year-olds at the meeting. And, yeah, he's held his price really, really well, and barriers all over Eye of Heaven. So we covered the 3 first favourites between us. Golden Pal, no surprise really that he's gone out in the betting. Andrew Arazzini taking a ride for Wes Ward. The people that I have spoken to who've been in that luxurious position at the track thus far, and listening to a couple of them on Sky earlier as well, they've just been saying that maybe Wes's horses haven't quite come in the coach yet. Physically, absolutely fit as fillies, but it makes a big difference, especially with the fillies as well. So, no love for Golden Pal whatsoever. I remember this was the opening 2-year-old race of the year in America at Gulfstream during that lockdown period. And Ron Wood, my colleague, said we've got to be with one here. It's called Gatsby, I think was his name. He just got on top of it. The one thing that Golden Pal did do was he just went off so hard. It was unbelievable. So I'd be amazed if Andrea Arazzini hasn't just been told to sit there and hold on to him. He's a definite pace
flags him
angle.
up as his best chance on the Betfair pod that he did with us. He thought that Golden Pal was his best chance of a winner. And just funny enough, like Lipizzaner, he's by Uncle Mo. So they're both by American stallions.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about the soft ground for Lipizzaner, I've got to say, Barry. But it all shall be borne out in roughly around about 7 minutes' time.
Well, that's optimistic, isn't it? Because go on, do the social first, because okay. I'll come back. I've got a little rant going.
Oh, okay, can't wait for that. Eye of Heaven, LR Cam, Kamari, Berkshire Rocco, and Caribbean Holiday. I was thinking that was something in the Duke of Edinburgh.
Yeah, what race is that?
Yeah, exactly. But that equals Caribbean Holiday. Well, let's hope you can go on one.
Exactly. You might have to wait a while. Might have to put a down payment and then book it up for next year.
Might have to be next year, old chap. But Dave Smith, loving your infectiousness, and let's face it, that looked really, really solid indeed. Come on then, rant away.
No, it's not a rant yet, but it might become one. Okay, because I was praising Ascot earlier for their punctuality. But then towards the end of the day, it just started getting away from them. Now, they're still coming out of the paddock with 5 to go. I just hope that they are on top of this, because Ascot have always had they've never been that fussed about it. It doesn't feel like the starter is on £1 million bonus to get them off to time. Yesterday, you'd have missed the start of Cracker Jack, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's
one for the kids.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Crush a grape, yeah, quite right. Is that because we've had a 2-year-old race, do you think, in the Albany? Could that be because the handlers, obviously, there's just 2 of them allowed for each horse, and that was the big worry, wasn't it? But from all the sceptics that were saying about racing coming back, what about the 2-year-old races? There were so many of them packed into the early part of the programme. But it has been, thus far, touch wood, it's been pretty good, hasn't it?
Yeah, but you've got
some of the cynics might say it's for the tote pools to let people get as much on as they can with the tote pools internationally.
Now that's cynical, isn't it?
Now, only cynical person would say that.
Wow.
Yeah, not.
Well, it's certainly not to get more people buying beers and champagne at the bars, because the bars aren't open, is it? I don't know. I just do think racing needs to be mindful of its customer base, and people are quite time poor these days. So if you back a horse in the 4:30 and you tune in at 4:30 and they're still lolloping down to the start, I don't think it's great.
It's not great,
and
absolutely.
there's no excuse for it. I've got a friend who's brilliant. He loves racing, but he's quite cynical about it. You know, these people are sort of really kind of down on everything.
Indeed.
And he said, look, basically, the way I see it is if you've got a race at 2:45, the stall's open at 2:45. If your horse isn't in the stall at that time, that's your tough luck. And I can sort of, you can't do that. But I mean,
what? So it's like a ticket. If you're not in it,
yeah.
you're
2:45, it's like the train. I missed my train by 30 seconds this morning.
Do you think some responsibility lies with the pilots? With the jockeys?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, absolutely. They're the
Ryan
only
Moore's
ones.
I don't want to single out Ryan.
They're the only humans who can physically ensure that those horses get down there to time.
Sometimes you see Frankie, don't you, just taking step by step. And sometimes, especially on the rolling on at Newman, they're just sitting back, aren't they? Like pipe and slippers, isn't it? Very much. So that's a really interesting point, actually. And what do you agree with Bruce's rant? Well, semi-rants. It could be getting worse as the day goes on. It was a late finish yesterday, indeed, the last two races. I think something's got to do with the 2-year-olds, but they need to get a shift on. Absolutely. The eyes of the world, in particular this week, are watching all over the planet Royal Ascot, and we're coming up to a second race here on Racing Post Live at the Betfair Exchange. It is the Norfolk Stakes. Let's talk about some of the previous winners, shall we? See if we can see maybe any superstars down there. I mean,
there's one we're talking about here, Dave. I'm just going to flag it up.
Go on.
A horse called Ventura Tormenta, number 14. Richard Hannon trains it for Midland Park Racing. It was bred by Kevin Blake of ITV Racing. Interestingly to see, I don't think I can't remember the last horse that won a Norfolk first time up or won a race in Ascot first time up. And he obviously was on that list that the trainers had to submit to as 2-year-olds, priority 2-year-olds, and he gets in here. So he's an interesting one that Richard Hannon wouldn't be putting him in here to make a show of himself. So, and any horse that he goes, like he must be all right to have him in here.
Oh, Kev will be cheering this one home, won't he? Good luck out there, Kev, one of the racing's good guys. Richard Hannon, to back this up, he's had 6 runners in the Norfolk, 1 winner and 2 places as well. So he doesn't throw his darts, and it's just a different year, Bruce, isn't it? This is where we're going to see horses with no form. Al Ali was the first winner last year in the last 10 years to win as a maiden. He had a second place going in, though, as well. Midland Park have got some nice horses. Maurice Diamond ran a massive race for them, didn't they?
Yeah, they do. It's a great organisation, isn't it? Really, really good organisation. Yeah. And I tell you what, to back up what Barry says there, and something I've touched upon earlier this week, if you've got half a clue or an inkling about a 2-year-old at a big price, just back it. Do not be afraid to back horses at massive prices. I reckon you're going to get a really big price winner this week. I still think that you've got enough 2-year-old races left for there to be a shock, or at least get in the place.
Sylvester
so many
Kirk
extra
had one at
places.
100 to 1, didn't he, yesterday in the Cheshire, ran an absolute blinder in the Jeff Smith colours. Another socials come in. What have we got? Anthony Hennessy. Anthony, welcome. Bruce is dead right. And I thought they were introducing the 2:52 starts. No point if it all goes off 15 minutes late.
But that's the thing, isn't it? It's ludicrous. 2:52. Well, yeah. You're asking for the sort of level of precision that racing never shows.
That is a great point. They do it internationally. We've been trying to model that, haven't we? But you go to these, France and America. We talked about this. What's the point? Yeah. 16 minutes later, sometimes you're tuning into Sky and you're like, have I missed it? And you're trying to get the result, aren't you? And all that sort of thing. You've got no idea, have you?
Do you know what is the most intolerable aspect to this? When all of a sudden they're all circling around at the start, and all of a sudden the camera pans back, and there's some poor little fella off his horse, holding the strap, running, and he's got about 6 furlongs to run. 6 furlongs is 3/4 of a mile. That takes a proper athlete 8 minutes.
Yes.
So you just know that it's going to take 15 minutes. I'm sorry, but those horses, you can't. You need. That's where you probably need a pony. So just say, look, grab
Jim Bolger, Brian
hop on,
and
we'll whiz you down there.
Yeah, now that's not a bad idea. We haven't seen any ponies yet. It used to be Bolger and Meehan that always used to insist on it going down, especially Jim Bolger, Barry, wasn't it? Some of his great horses have been ponied.
He'd pony one down to the start. Anything that's a little bit fractious or he thinks might get nervous, he's not adverse to doing it at all. Once they get permission off the stewards, they're good to go.
Yeah, all right, let's talk about the market then, because it's taking shape, isn't it? Lipizzaner now, I think we have to say, an absolute listen, there's confidence here behind the Ballydor runner as well. The Learjet's just out to about 5s, I think, Barry, isn't he, at the moment?
Yeah, Learjet currently, 5-1 chance bang on, Dave. Imperial Force is a 9-1 chance. Golden Pal, 17.5 from 11.5 this morning. I have him steady away at the head of the market without being spectacular. I'd say if it was good ground, this would probably be more like a 5-4 chance. And maybe if the draw was a little bit better, being drawn in 5. of 14. But Lipizzan is probably the best horse backed in the race for money.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really good race. I can't wait for this. I'm thinking we might see a real good potential.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we're going to see a real nice horse come out of this.
And again, as per our first race, quandaries for the riders of a lot of these, if they are still edgy about the draw bias. Now, Ryan Moore's sitting pretty because he's 14.
Yeah.
But of the others, Frankie's on 5 Frankie's coming out of 5. Asheen's coming out of 1 on the Learjet. And James Doyle's got to come out of 2 on Imperial Force, who's really, really solid in the market. So again, what do? Blast out and gradually come across, or do what Andrea did in the last race, drop out, do that kind of Ingemarst-Denmark loop round them.
Yeah.
But then you can't win if you're doing that, because these races are over too quickly, aren't
The
they?
Dad's Army Arrow. I love that. That's one for the highlights, really, isn't it? OK, so look, we're going in for the Norfolk Stakes to 225. We know you're out there watching. We can see how many are streaming it. Like the stream. Let us know exactly what you think of the show. That's what it's all about. We can see the numbers at the end of the day. We read through all the comments. It's fantastic stuff. Myself, Dave Orton, Bruce Millington back in the chair. Bruce, you're back tomorrow as well. We're in now for the double header, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. We're here till the end, till the bitter end.
And
Let's hope
Barry
it's not
Orr,
bitter.
the big hitter from Betfair, taking us all the way. Dress down Friday. I want to see. I need to see you get stuck in a bit today, Barry.
Get stuck into what?
Yeah, you're dressed down. You know what I mean?
We're not dressed down. Did you not get the memo?
I didn't get the memo.
Smart white shirt.
No,
That's what
I
it
know.
said, Barry, wasn't it? That's what the production
exactly
team
what
sent
it
us.
said.
We look like an opera
That was
trio,
running
wouldn't
order
we? I
last
think I'd
night
look
that
like
I
the
got.
opera singer, I think. But yeah, I should have known. No, absolutely not. We're all black tomorrow then. Okay, listen, last couple going in. Bruce Millington's going to call this for you. Enjoy it. Let's hope you shout. You've got to shout. It's all about having a shout in a race, isn't it? It's still, 13 races? 13 races to go, aren't there? So, yes, we were 15, so 13 races to go. Gamble
No, 6.
Responsibly.
Yeah, 5 and 8. Sorry, 5 plus 8 equals 13. Yes, well done, mate.
13
Well done.
races to go. The mathematics isn't too bad. Since you start looking at odds, you start to brush up your mathematics, don't you? Let's face it. Right then, this is going to be good stuff. And we're expecting them to go down the middle, Bruce?
Yeah. But like I say, just a question of whether those fancied runners on the far side are going to hold firm there, or whether they decide they do need to cut across and make a move. Because Ryan Moore will sure as hell be delighted when he saw the draw for this and he saw he was in 14 and the others were stuck out on the far side. He'll have absolutely loved that. Lipizzana solid at 3.4. Eye of Heaven 3. The Learjet out to 7.8. 10 Imperial Force. And they're using some force to get Lipizzana in.
He's in.
But they've done it. Great job again by the handlers. We are almost ready to go. They are off and running for the Norfolk. A very, very swift break by Macho Pride from Ben Haslam. But coming out like an absolute arrow is Golden Pal, who's already 2 lengths clear.
Whoosh.
Down the near side, chasing in orange is Jojo Rabbit. Eye of Heaven is well up there. Any market moves quickly, guys?
No, Lipizzana's just drifted out a little, out to around 11 to 4.
He's
Learjet
outpaced a bit.
one. The favourite's very strong now at 5 to 4 in running.
Yeah, really, really outpaced Ryan. Down the near side going well is the Learjet in company with Eye of Heaven, but they've still got a couple of lengths to make up
Here
on the
comes
American
Lipizzana.
Raider Golden Pal. Lipizzana's still got loads and loads to do.
Come
And
on.
it's still being
No,
held.
nobody
Golden
eats it.
Pal
Looks
is still
like
doing it.
it's
Here
all
comes the
over.
Learjet. Can the Learjet get to Golden Pal?
This might have
Golden
gone.
Pal for Wesley Ward and Andrea Atzani is holding.
Oh, the Welsh machine.
Is holding the Lear, but the Lear's
Gone.
getting one last lunge, but it's
Here he
not going to
comes.
get there. The American was
Here
just
he
going to win it.
comes.
No, here comes the Learjet. Here comes the Learjet.
Here he
Can
comes.
Learjet somehow gets up to beat Golden Pal. Wow, what a race.
Oh.
And Asheen Murphy is absolute best there. Michael Bell is off that cold list. Qatar Racing have bought themselves another one, and poor old Wesley Ward, after a wretched week, must have thought he got off the mark there. What price was Golden Pal in running, Barry?
He hit 107, Bruce, 14 to 1 on for £2,435. The winner hit a high at 21 in running, and unbelievably, what a ride from Asheen Murphy.
Yeah, they come well clear, the pair of them. Also off the cold list, Bruce Millington.
Aye, that
Kept
was
your
good.
composure there. What was that in third? Was that
Imperial Force third, Lipizzana fourth,
Yeah.
number 10 was Macho Pride, that was fifth. Favourite didn't act on the ground. It was
Yes.
third with 2 furlongs to go, but the distress signals went out. It looked like this thing, Golden Pal, was going to hang on. It was a great effort by Andrea Atzani to make all, but he just didn't give up on the Learjet, did not give up. Really dogged effort. They've come well clear of the third,
Yes.
and just in the dying strides, The Learjet has got up to win by a neck.
I'm trying to find Michael Bell's winner of the, it was the commentary, Art Connoisseur 2008. Once raced, maiden winner, has come and done it. Basically that was such a fascinating finish, wasn't it? And we were thinking, the reason why I said this is kind of all over, guys, because nothing had come back to them yet. And it just shows you that stiff finish at Ascot plays in. Real eye-catcher Imperial Force will go back to him. He's just enhanced Creative Force's chances for Godolphin in the Coventry. But that was a really good ride. And something that the Learjet hadn't done on his debut at Yarmouth. You know, flat, sharp 5 furlongs. He's really shown a beautiful attitude. He probably has tied up a little bit Golden Pal. I'll tell you what, Barry, if you were being told on your, Betfair podcast, etc., by Wes that this was the bet of the week, let's hope people, kept the faith despite what was going on with his runners, because hopefully, I'm sure a lot of people were on, each way, etc., and 12-1, much bigger than you'd have expected.
Yeah, very much so. Interestingly, just looking at the Betfair SP there, the winner's SP at 9.02, so 8-1 the Learjet of the Betfair SP of friendless in the market at the finish. Obviously, a Betfair SP is an interesting one. You have people who want to lay a horse versus people who want to back it. The layers they just put in a sum of money that they want to lay the horse for, and the backers just put in a sum of money, and the reconciliation's done just as the horses go in play. That's how the Betfair SP is formed.
That was fast and furious, wasn't it? That really, really was. I mean, I said that he showed early when he got touched off by Gatsby on his debut in Gulfstream back in April. But that was, I think that's probably the fastest early pace I've seen so far this week. That was just rocket stuff. And Andrea Furlong out must have. It would be fascinating to see what he says in the quotes, which you can find tagged onto the analysis races in your members club or your paper tomorrow, to see whether he thought I was just running on empty or I had so much horse left. It is for the first race of the day where we've seen contrasting fortunes at the finish. Where would you go with him now? Goodwood?
With him, yeah.
Malcolm?
Malcolm. Yeah, he's an absolute speedball, isn't he? And
Morney, something like that.
He'd probably get a bit further, wouldn't he?
Nunthorpe lads.
Another one for the Nunthorpe.
Another one for the Nunthorpe, yeah.
Another one.
And again, Barry, what we were talking about earlier, the older sprinters. All right, Batash is an absolute freak, but take him out, and there isn't really anything that scary, is there?
What is it they get from him? Something ridiculous, like £12 or something like that. It might even be more, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a ton, isn't it?
It's an absolute ton of weight as well. And who did he try it with? Lady Aurelia?
Sure,
was that who he
the
tried it
runner
with?
up stay for the Nunthorpe as well, wouldn't you imagine? Isn't that a race?
Golden Pal will head there, I bet, as well. I bet he keeps him over here to do it.
Yeah, because that 5 at York's a lot more is a lot more forgiving in the
right
final
up his
furlong.
street,
You have to be at Ascot to realise the last half furlong there is it's not a wall, but and it's not toaster, but it is properly uphill, isn't it? A couple of interesting angles further back. There's been a few people criticising Ryan Moore. Ryan Moore, unfortunately, gets criticised whatever he does. But there's a few people saying he sat too far back off the pace. He was way off the pace
Not
there. He's come through to finish 4th, but I just think Lipizzaner got run off its feet.
He got run off, exactly. That's exactly what happened. I don't think she could go the pace. He couldn't go the pace.
And the other thing I wanted to say, if you've got a horse tracker, Ventura Tormenta, that you flagged up beforehand at a big price. That was a really good debut. I think that was 5th or 6th. I noted that one running on really well. And my other thought coming out of that was that Asheen's pretty much kept straight from stall 1 and not tried to come across too much. So it's possible that you don't have to be too scared of horses that are drawn. That was drawn 1. Now, obviously, he didn't head over to the far rail, but he's not really made a desperate attempt to get onto the perceived better ground. So I think probably we'll look back at the end of the week and just say, look, the Ascot, they do a fantastic job and it's fair.
And it's where the pace is as usual. The first 2 days, the pace was all higher to come all the way across, but we've seen some arrowhead formations. You can win from any of that. It's twice in 2 days that the one poke has win. I remember speaking to John Gosden about the one box at Ascot once. He was just can't have it at all. Every time they see it come up, they're like, head in hands type stuff. So I think you need a decent horse at the same time. We've just seen one there. Michael Bell, happy days, off the cold list, along with Bruce Millington as well. How does that make you feel now? Are you really going to attack the Hardwick Miranda you like, don't you?
No, I'm not going to really attack it, because yesterday I backed the first winner at 20-1 and ended up losing money, which is a sin. You should not be doing that, okay? Now, I don't think I'm an irresponsible punter, but all I'm saying is that sometimes you can just get a little bit overconfident. You're most dangerous when you've just backed a winner. So I've come into today not massively confident. I'm backing that winner doesn't suddenly make me think I'm Phil Ball. So I'm gonna I'll tread carefully.
Okay, that was the Norfolk Stakes. You're watching RP Live here. Myself, Dave Orton, Bruce Millington and Barry Orr. We've got, another 4 races ahead, and it's got Hardwick next coming up at 3 o'clock. This is going to be to see a battle of who can be favourites. Can you call it? Let us know who you think will be favourite out of LR Cam, Mark Johnson's, Jim Crowley, Hamdan Al Maktoum, all having a good week, and Anthony Van Dyke, Ryan Moore and O'Brien at around about 11 to 4 the pair at the moment. Shall we have a little look at the market, guys, for the 3 o'clock? We'll get an early look at it. We've still got plenty of time. We can chat about things. Send us in your questions. There's some great socials along the way thus far. We know you're out there watching. Like the stream. That's what it's all about. They're telling me in my ear. Absolutely. So I will get that message across. Okay, LR Cam then. It's a tough one, this, isn't it, guys? I guess they must be looking at the ground punters out there because these are 2 horses coming off really sizzling form runs. Last year's winner, Defoe, around about the 7-1 mark at the moment. Has it dried up a little bit for him? Hamish, William Haggis, Paul Keeley, really, really keen on this one. And Mirando, he likes a bit of cut underneath. Fanny Logan, we saw her, didn't we, up at Lancaster, in the Lancaster race up at Haydock. She was a little bit disappointed there. This track promises to suit as well. Frankie riding for Sheikh Mohammed. Don't often see that these days in his old colours. What a race we've got to look forward to. So, shall we get tips out of the way? I've actually gone for Nap in this race, so I'll just tell you very quickly. And this is a bit like me as a Watford supporter of my team jumping onto another team. I jumped onto Sheffield United the other night, for example, because I wanted them to beat Villa on the first game back. I don't ever back LR Cam, so you know what's probably going to happen. But we covered it, didn't we?
How can you say you never back LR?
I've never been with him. I've always been trying to take him on. He's always been one of these hype horses, and he's out of attraction, who we know with Johnson's a Guineas winner. He's by Frankel. Ever since his debut when he streaked away, he's just been really, really short prices. I wasn't totally convinced about his attitude earlier on. I wasn't sure what ground he wanted. It was quite a profitable angle. I think a lot of punters have screamed at the LR Cam telly before, but that Brigadier Gerard run, do you remember we were debating, the 3 of us, weren't we? Did Lord North idle, or was LR Cam coming back? He now steps up for the first time to 12 furlongs. He was 3rd in the Hardwick last year. That form we saw Mountain Angel really, the Wolverton, last year. That was a really, really strong Wolverton. He's a proper 120 horse, this. And I think on this ground he'll get away with it. Jim Crowley's having the week. I think he might just want the trip now.
Who are you tipping?
LR Cam.
Oh, okay. You just said you've never tipped him.
No, but I'm going on him now. That's what I'm saying.
You just spent 5 minutes talking about the race, and
you weren't listening, man.
I was listening. Test me.
So look, what I've said is I never ever back LR Cam, but I've.
So that made me think you weren't. Okay, you've napped LR Cam.
This is what my point is about the Sheffield United Watford thing. See, I feel like I'm supporting another football team.
Do you know what? It's funny you say that, because this week's golf tournament, I always follow Steve Palmer, and he tipped Ian Poulter, and I can't stand Ian Poulter.
Do you just back Palmer's tips blindly?
I quite often I do, yeah.
A lot of my mates do.
But I've never backed Ian Poulter throughout his career, and this week I'm cheering him on. It feels odd. It doesn't feel right.
Right, so this
is doing us proud. So I know where you are with this.
I'm on Ian Poulter here.
Okay,
if you get it. So listen, I've napped LR Cam. Kills. Do you know what he said to me earlier when we were talking? I said I've napped you, and I think you're bonkers, Orton.
Really?
And I thought, well, you're not alone there, my old friend. But listen, I think that LR Cam from stall 7, he's going to run an absolutely mighty race, and I just think he's the horse that. I think this is his race. I just think this is his race. Bruce?
Okay. Well, we've seen 3 races on the straight course so far, and we kind of think that we know there is some cut, but we kind of think it's drying out. But this is the first race on the round course, and I think this is where the round course is always much, much softer. So you are going to need to be able to handle cut. And I've gone for a horse who's not the most glamorous, and he's probably not the best, but he's consistent, and I like him each way, and he's trained by one of the hottest trainers since the restart in Andrew Balding. His jockey won the first race, and his name is Morando, and I see he's out to 10.5 on Betfair, and that spells one word to me, and the word begins with V, and it is value. So I am going Morando. I would do it each way.
Blues for me and Bruce then. Barry Orr, they're waiting patiently. Where are we going?
I'm backing Fanny Logan in the place market, Bruce. I just think that run that she had up in, wasn't it Haydock in the Brigadier General, or the Brigadier Gerard, I thought that was a really nice run. She was just nutted at the finish. She was given £3 to the winner. She gets £3 here being affiliate. I think there is some improvement in her. I just like the look of her, and I think I'm going to back her in the standard place terms. There's obviously 2 non-runners. There's 9 runners now, but it's 3 places standard place terms on the Betfair Sportsbook. She's ranked 2.92 there at the moment, Bruce.
Yeah.
Let's have 50 quid on her at 2.92. We'll take the price. We won't make the price this time.
Okay, mate.
Yeah, I thought she ran well. I've got to say
Oh,
that.
no, hang on. Are we on? No, it's just jumped down. Yeah, we're on. 2.92. Jolly good.
There's a bit of love for her, isn't there, all of a sudden? I thought she ran well. A lot of people thought that Rab Havlin that day behind Manuela de Vega, wasn't
That's
it?
right.
Manuela de Vega, yeah.
I thought Rab Havlin sat too far off their gate. I thought Hornby outrode in there. A, in terms of identifying the good ground on the near side, and B, just stealing a march.
We covered that. The
Yeah,
three
we
of us
did.
actually
Yeah,
covered
yeah.
that.
I thought Havlin just sat too far, and he was still sitting there with his hands absolutely motionless with 2.5 furlongs out. And you're like, well, come on.
I know,
Not
but
the
on
track you want to
reflection-
do it on, is it? Yeah.
On reflection, Bruce, do you not think that, like, obviously that this was always going to be her primary early season target, and if she had a won in Haydock, that was a bonus, it looked like to me.
Well, I don't know. I don't see the point of sending her up there and not trying to win the race.
She was
No,
short
I'm
of
not
the
saying
market,
they didn't
wasn't
try
she?
to win
No,
the
no,
race,
no, I
but
know
I'm
that.
sure she wasn't fully tuned up for it.
Maybe you may be right, but
And given £3 to the winner as well.
But even if she wasn't fully tuned up there, Barry, I just think that probably Rab was just caught napping slightly. That's what I'm saying. I'm very, very reluctant to criticise jockeys because I think that A, they get too much criticism, B, they're brilliant at what they do, and C, you wouldn't get me sitting on the back of a racehorse for £1 million. So I'm in awe of what they do, and I'm very reluctant to criticise them. But I do just feel there, and you know, let's face it, the people who criticise jockeys most are trainers.
Yeah.
They get much more stick off trainers than anyone else. And I don't know, I just thought possibly that if he had the race again, he might have thought, hang on a sec, Manuela de Vega's decent. I've given her too much leeway here.
Just let's concentrate on that jockey's getting stick vibe. You know, hopefully none of us are. I mean, we all talk through our pockets somewhat, don't you? Because you're watching it more intently, perhaps, than others, and of course you're going to have an armchair opinion. Jockey bashing is something that we see all the time. But I said at the start of the year, you know, in the midst of the jump season, I felt that professionally people were too slow to come out and talk about certain rides.
Yeah.
I think it can swing both ways, but finding that happy medium is quite difficult. How do you see it, Barry?
I'm like Bruce. I'm very reluctant to criticise jockeys because you don't know what instructions they're riding to a lot of the time either. Sometimes the more senior jockeys are just basically allowed to go out and do what they want, that they'll know how a race will unfold. But a lot of times the less senior jockeys and especially apprentices and claimers, they're riding to instructions, and sometimes those instructions can be, you know, they can be way wide of the mark in terms of what the way a race would develop for a horse or should develop for a horse. So, yeah, I'm reluctant to criticise jockeys. I think there is plenty of people out there who do criticise them. There's some very vocal people indeed on social media that go the complete extremes when they're criticising jockeys, and I think that's actually disgusting. But I think in racing, we do need to have an open and be able to talk openly and criticise certain rides.
Yes.
But not the jockey. You're not criticising the jockey. You're just saying, like, I can go to work some days and have a terrible day. You know, I just do things wrong. And that happens in all walks of life. And it happens to jockeys as well. So they shouldn't be so insular and we shouldn't be, as a sport, feel so restricted that we can't talk about a jockey that happens to have a bad day at the office or give one a bad ride for fear of recrimination. You know, especially like the guys in your game in the media, you know, that for fear of recrimination from jockeys that they mightn't talk to them again, which I've seen happen over here and in the UK on several occasions where jockeys took umbrage at being criticised by journalists for certain rides. But I don't think that's a healthy environment either. I think everyone needs to hold their hands up when they do have a bad day at work and say, yeah, I did it wrong, but I'm going to learn from it and we move on.
There shouldn't be a problem with that, but when you're putting money down, I guess that's where it all starts to go wrong. Let's have a look at the social comment then. We've got one coming in. Chaos 50, AVD, all day long, best bet of the day. Anthony Van Dyke, of course, has one of these abbreviations. That's who Chaos is talking about. Is he going to go off favourite? Let's get back to the race then, guys, to 3 o'clock, the Hardwick. Barry, who's winning the favouritism battle?
Yeah, it's nip and tuck between the two of them. Anthony Van Dyke is at the moment just favourite, but having said that, he has been matched at the lowest 7-4 on the Betfair exchange. He's out to just a little over 5-2 now at 3.6, whereas Alarcam was matched at 7-2, and that's into 3.7, which is around the 11-4 mark. So for actual money, Alarcam is the strongest in the market, and he's just gone favourite there now as I speak. just very, very slightly. Hamish has been steady away. He's 8.2 now, Hamish. He's kind of been that all day. Defoe, 9.4, little bit of a drift on him. Fanny Logan, some money for that, and Mirando, some money for that as well. They're about 9-1 chances.
Right then, I've got a stat for you.
Here we go.
Since Harzand won the 2016 Irish Derby, Derby winners have run 11 times. Here are their form figures. 8, 9, 3, 5, 6, 2, 10, 3, 3, 0, 2.
That's like the Grand National.
That's mad, isn't it?
That is mad.
That is absolutely mad. And I tell you what, do you remember after Kamiko won the Guineas? And they were saying, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And Andrew Balding produced that quote where he said, well, I have to speak to David Redvers, who's the Cato racing manager, because he from a potential of his stallion profile, he's not sure they want to win a Derby. Now, two bits there. How sad that winning a Derby is now almost seen as a stain on a horse's CV. But when you look at those figures, you kind of... you wonder why. So has this breed for speed thing gone so far that the Derby is now threatening to become a bit of a kind of square peg in a round hole?
It's supposed to be the equine pinnacle, isn't it?
But it's not now, is it?
It's become like the Grand National.
If the Derby winners, between them after their wins, can't win a single race in 11 outings.
It's a great stat, by the way. Did you have that ready? Or
No, I knew about it. I mentioned it in a column last year because I'd been looking back. I was thinking... Blimey, all these Wings of Eagles, and I know he didn't run again, but we've had some bad Derby winners recently. So I went through it and found those figures, and they're just terrible, aren't they? It actually makes Anthony Van Dyke's run in front of Stradivarius in the Coronation Cup at Newmarket actually quite creditable, doesn't it? It's about as good as any Derby winner's done.
He stank in the market that day at Newmarket, you'll remember, and everyone was like, well, he's just having a prep for something. Where's he going? He's never been a horse that the public have latched onto. What was he, something like second or third favourite for the Derby, I seem to remember last year. And but yet, we're talking about strong form lines. We're talking about Lord North and El Arkham. But who would you think has got the strongest line here? Is it Stradivarius in the Coronation Cup smashing the course record behind Gayeth?
It's difficult, because I mean, a lot of people who were negging on Stradivarius yesterday weren't just talking about the ground, but they were talking about the potential that he had a really hard race, and Frankie had to get after him about 3 out because Gayeth, what's it called? I can never pronounce the thing.
This is what Mr. Jennings asked.
Well, you can't even pronounce Stradivarius, so what chance you got?
I can get this one right, Gayeth.
Okay, Gayeth. So, and they thought that he'd really had a hard race. I thought Anthony Van Dyke ran really well that day.
He did.
But do I want to back him at 3.65 here? No, thank you. I think there's a horse that's too big now. I mean, I'm sticking with my main tip, Miranda, but I think Defoe at 9.2. I could back that all day long.
Yeah, David Jennings has put this up in the post today. Dave's having a great week. This wasn't his strongest of the day. I'll tell you about that a little bit later on if you haven't seen it. But yeah, Defoe won the race last year. He ran, of course, in the Anthony Van Dyke race. He stank in the market even more. And they thought that it maybe was the fast ground. He surprised people last year with the ground, didn't he? And the rain that's fallen has to be in his favour.
Yeah, I think so. I could just see us banging the 3. What is he for a place? Let's have a quick look. He's 2.66 for a place, but I think I'd back him win and place because I think he can win. If he could win this race last year, he can certainly win this race.
There's a lot of talk about whether this race was as good as the race that he won last year. You remember the Hardwick last year was all about massage. You remember that? Derby winner who just didn't come back. There's another duck
another one
in the Derby. So look, Anthony Van Dyke, is it all about the Breeders' Cup again, or have they found one here? The Hardwick coming down from a Group 1, of course. So look, I think we have to say probably that is the form to be with, isn't it? But Lord North, that Brigadier Gerard at Arkham nearly got back up and beat him. What a sizzling performance that was in the Prince of Wales. Market update, Barry Orr.
Yeah, Anthony Van Dyke, your favourite at 5-2, just ahead of Al Arkham at 11-4. Interesting what you're saying there about Defoe. If you go back to the Coronation Cup last year, he traded at 90 in running. Kew Gardens traded at 101. It looked all over. It's just a horse I've never really taken to, Defoe. Now, I know he's won this race last year for Roger Varian. He went off 11-4 favourite. I think it was a substandard renewal of the race. I think this year it's a whole different proposition. Anthony Van Dyke would be a 6-4 chance if the ground was good to firm here, lads. He's 5-2, and if you're backing him on the proviso that the ground's not as bad as maybe some people think it is, which is not necessarily always a good chance to take, considering how poorly it drains on the round course in comparison to the straight course. So that's the only reason Anthony Van Dyke is such a big price. This was his target all along, but you can back him at 3.5 now.
I never thought I'd liken AVD, Anthony Van Dyke, to Many Clouds, who was the first horse to win the National, to win after the National winner in donkeys years. Pinot de Rey went and did it as well. But there you go. I've just said Many Clouds. Let's go to Paul Keeley.
The Hardwick Stakes is a strange race because it features a favourite in Elecam who's never run over a mile and a half and has never really looked like a stayer. Anthony Van Dyke, last year's Derby winner, is second favourite but ran badly at Ascot last year, and the trainer says he doesn't like the ground. You've got to take them on. Defoe won the race last year, but he's 6 now and won't be getting any better, and Mirando is 7. So I think I'll take a chance on Hamish. He's a 4-year-old. He only started racing in April last year. He's surged his way up the handicap with decent run after decent run, travelling really well, especially in soft ground. And if he's improved over the winter, he's going to have a big run in him.
Nice link here because he's by a Derby winner, Motivator. Interesting sire, isn't he? Was unfashionable, but was he the sire of Trev as well, I seem to remember? I think he was. Trev, I'm pretty sure he was. The French liked him more than we did, I think, actually, Motivator. Hamish, James Doyle, William Haggis, the old firm, getting back together. First time out was my worry about this, and I thought I got the feeling that when this was being tipped left, right and centre yesterday, people thought the rain was going to continue.
Possibly. I think he's almost a bit of a kind of process of elimination choice, isn't he? If you've landed on Hamish, it's because you've looked at Anthony Van Dyke and thought, well, I'm not sure about the ground. You've looked at Elecam and thought, well, I'm not sure about a mile and a half. You've looked at Defoe and thought that last run wasn't great. Fanny Logan likewise. Mirando, consistent but not quite good enough. The rags are the rags. This thing you wouldn't necessarily think is Hardwick material on what he's done, but it might be a kind of weakish Hardwick, so therefore he's got a decent chance. I mean, Keels isn't the only good judge I know who fancies Hamish, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he wins it. But I don't know, there's still a little bit of taken on trust job. But do you know, the fascinating element of this race to me is that you've got a horse in Elecam who's got really, really good top-class form, and he's 5, and he's having his first try at the mile and a half.
Yeah.
And it kind of puts you off to an extent because you think, well, hang on a sec, if the connections were that confident, they'd have done this already. But it might just be that they have left this a little bit too late. The way his programme was that they always had a preferable target at what they thought was the optimum distance. This might be the making of him.
Out of the 2 most favourite Guineas winners that I've ever had, Franklin and Attraction anyway. I guess that's probably why they've been waiting for it. It's not a negative for me. Keeley didn't like that at all. Hamish, I thought he might just be a cup horse this season. I wonder if we'd have had a normal prep, whether we'd be looking at something like the Goodwood Cup for him now, something like that. But first time out, he's a very, very strong traveller. And there probably is more to come at 3 to 4 as well. Is there any love for any of the rags, Barry? Eagles by Day, Alanak and Communique, very disappointing he was at the Guineas weekend.
Next 50, Eagles by Day is 90, and Communique is 40. You'd have to think Communique is going to be there to, around Alicram. I don't think they're going to be looking to. He's probably set decent enough fractions without it ensuring it's not too fast a pace. Would be my opinion on Communique, but the outsider's not a shilling for them, no.
Of them, Eagles by Day is the interesting one, not only because Michael Bell's just taken out our last winner of the Norfolk, but if you remember last year, he was a very, very promising third to Japan at the Royal Meeting, and he's only been seen once since then. I think that was the Bahrain Trophy when everything went wrong for him. He could be a horse that might have a bit more to follow. I'm not suggesting he's going to win this, but it's very hard to see that, but I wouldn't be surprised if he put up a decent show.
Yeah, I mean, on his best form, Communique might just start getting close to the frame, but it was a really, really disappointing run, wasn't it? Are you surprised that Stouty, who's won 6 of the last 10 runnings of this, doesn't have a horse for the Hardwick? I mean, he never doesn't have a horse for the Hardwick, does
Very surprised, absolutely, yeah. Well, I think a stout horse would be very interesting in this. Quite weak, Michael, is he, Sir Michael? First receiver, nearly pulled it off in the Hampton Court Stakes on our opening day, on the Wednesday, sorry. But I am surprised indeed. But look, it's an absorbing Hardwick. I found it such a fascinating race when we were analysing it on the feature show we were doing this morning and the likes. And look, I'm with Elecam. I thought he would go off favourite. It looks like now Anthony Van Dyke, they're really, really coming for this. So stall 6. Ryan Moore's going to have the options, isn't he? And he's got the duck egg, of course. He really flopped at the meeting last year, albeit on the wrong ground. Dave Jennings...
Yeah, but it's the wrong ground here as well.
And not
quite that wrong, possibly, but... It'll still be a slog round there, round Swinley Bottom.
When DJ said that he did the stable tour with Aidan O'Brien at the start of the year, he said, I'm never going to run him on soft ground ever again. And yet here they are. So rattling fast ground at Newmarket in the Coronation, and the rain would not have been in his favour as well. Are the dogs barking for him, Barry?
He needs feeding.
Anthony Van Dyke needs feeding. AVD, Chaos 50s on him. Okay, so listen, if you're out there watching RP Live, let us know. They're coming onto the track for the Hardwick, the third of 6 races that we are bringing you here on RP Live. This is absolutely fantastic performances so far. 3 sprints. We've got the Commonwealth Cup coming up after this, the Group 1 of the day, wide open. Where are you playing in that? Let us know. Hashtag RP Live, Facebook or YouTube channels. Like the stream, let us know. Some more social comments would be great. We love reading them out and then debating the merits about that. We've got plenty of time in between races to do that. Could just see Defoe ambling out on the track. He looks cool and calm and collected, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. Yeah, he's a beauty, isn't he?
If you had to jump on one now, where would you be going? Having looked at the market and that.
Well, like I said, I'm frightened of horses, so I wouldn't. But if I had to, in terms of
Very good.
in terms of maximising my riding fee.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've gone with Miranda because I think it's consistent and will pick up some decent prize money and possibly first prize. So I'll stick with Miranda. But I mean, that and Defoe, I would much rather Dutch those two than Dutch the front two, because I think Ellicum's really interesting, and I'm not put off by the fact that he hasn't run over a mile and a half. I'm not worried. I was worried about you about who his parents are. I think it wouldn't surprise me at all if he won, but the trip kind of means that, I don't know, at 3-1 is his value. I'm not mad on him. I'm going to stick with Defoe and Miranda, and if I was riding one, I'd ride Miranda.
Okay, okay, Miranda it is. Yeah, he was really impressive when signing off over course and distance.
Can you ride a
at the
horse?
back end? No, don't go there. But
Why?
It's an embarrassing tale for me. The only time I've ever sat on a horse, I jumped off after about 30 seconds. My father was so disappointed in me. But they put me on a nervy sort. You know, it wasn't like when the Queen 93-year-old gets on this thing that's not going to move. It was a horrifying experience.
Oh, I don't fancy it. Barry, you can ride, can't you?
Last time I was on a horse, I fell off and broke my wrist.
Oh, did you?
How long ago was that, Barry?
That was 1989.
Really?
That's enough to put you off then, isn't it?
I went. We were on
21
holiday.
years worth of putting
we were
off.
on holiday in Robin Hood's Bay up in Yorkshire. God, this is when we were in our early 20s, and someone said, "Oh, let's go horse pony trekking." So I was like, "Oh, really?" Anyway, we did it, and I got on this horse. And we were going along this old disused railway track, so it's all pretty safe.
You
and
wouldn't
pretty
want to
flat.
go on a railway track.
But disused. It didn't have the rails. And
Oh
the
right,
planks.
sleepers and all that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, disused. They'd ripped it
Oh,
all
okay,
up.
right.
Anyway, so we're plodding along, and I'm thinking, this is going a bit quick. I said, "Excuse me," I said to the lady who was leading us along, "How old's this horse?" She goes, 28.
Did that instill
So it's
your
the
confidence?
slowest horse in
that
that
right?
stable.
So it worked. It was a complete opposite for me. It was an
So
absolute.
I can ride a 28-year-old, okay, but this lot, not for me.
Okay, and on that comment, let's go and have a look at the market. Can we get the market screen up, please, guys, and have a little look? See, look, there's a clear favourite now, chaps and people out there. You've made Anthony Van Dyke the Derby winning. Oh, that's a horrible stat, isn't it? He's got a duck egg next to his name at Ascot as well. But Barry, 9-4 with the industry SP. Looks around about 5-2 on the exchange. Better value there.
Yeah, just a little over 3.35, a little over 9-4, 4.2 LR Cam. Defoe steady away now, 8.2. Hamish 9.2. 10-1 Fanny Logan. Mirando's strong at 8.8. It has to be said. He's kind of been around that mark, hasn't deviated much from it. It looks like it's quite a mature market in that we haven't seen any massive plunges. The only real thing to report is that it looks like Anthony Van Dyke's going to go off favourite ahead of Alarcon.
We talk about team tactics all the time, don't we? With Team Ballydor, as they call them, especially around Ascot as well. But yet, this could be the Johnson tactics here, couldn't it? Communique and LR can both like to get on with it. This could be very interesting indeed. Communique.
Yeah, I think Communique will go off in front but set steady fractions. I don't think he's going to try to drag it out of anything because it wouldn't be in the best interest of Alarcon to do that.
You have to think Miranda under SDS is going to be. I mean, all week on the on the round course, he's wanted to get on with it, isn't he?
Who was it who was saying that SDS does? I think it might have been
It was Ross, I think, wasn't it?
Was it Ross who says he just doesn't think he doesn't ride Ascot as well as
Too exuberant, I think was the word he used.
It, yeah.
Something like that, wasn't it? He's just not quite got the patient side of him.
And yet he's mustered at Epsom, which is a much harder riding test than this.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really stack up, that does it? But I mean, it's possible it's true. You know.
I mean, I guess it's that Hamdan tag, isn't it, where you want to be prominent all the time. Anyway, they're going in for the Hardwick, the 3 o'clock. Good luck wherever you've gone on this. If you've not had a winner yet, it's coming, don't worry. Let's hope it's in this. Bruce Millington calling the 3 o'clock.
Okay, there are 9 runners and they are off over 1.5 miles, and bustled up early on is Alunak, Andrew Balding's second string, and that is vying for the early lead with, looks like, Eagles by Day. Dropping in directly behind them is Elakam in third, Anthony Van Dyke is fourth, Defoe is fifth, Mirando is sixth, and then we've got Fanny Logan in seventh, followed by...
that is Eagles by Day, Bruce, I think. Remarkably similar colours.
So who's taking it up then?
Communique.
Okay,
yeah.
Communique's taking it up. And who's that right out of the back?
Hamish.
Okay, what's the market doing, Alba?
It hasn't changed much, lads, as you'd imagine. They've only really left stalls. 3.3 Anthony Van Dyke, 3.95 LR Cam, and it's 8-1 bar.
I'd have Elakam now favourite. He'll get first run, I think, which is very, very interesting. But he's a little bit keen, Andy Van Dyke, for me. He's awash with sweat as well. Bruce Millington.
But he's got a good pitch on the inside. I mean, they've both decided to get up there nice and early. They're not messing around, are they? So, yeah, we've still got 2 of the outsiders. Communique from Alunak, keeping the pace nice and honest. In third is Elakam. In fourth, it's Anthony Van Dyke. Fifth is Defoe. Sixth on the inside is Eagles by Day. And that one is followed by the small... That is a small horse. I've spotted a horse that's a different size to the others. It's Mirando, a little grey horse. Fanny Logan, and then asking to come from round all of them to win the race will be Hamish. As they head up towards the final turn, they've got 5 furlongs left to go. No change in the order. We've still got the 2 outsiders. So the big guns have yet to play their hand.
Here he comes.
Is Anthony Van Dyke going okay? He's not
just
favourite
been
anymore.
niggled.
Elakam's favourite.
Yeah, Elakam's made a move. Jim Crowley has sensed it.
Yeah, Elakam has been
Anthony
sent
Van
up
Dyke to 6-1.
on the outside.
know
So
he stays.
Communique is about to give way, I think, to Elakam, who's the first one to play his hand.
Here comes
They're
Defoe.
being bustled up on the outside. Defoe and Anthony Van Dyke.
Will he stay?
Mirando's trying to get there. Hamish is trying to come from way
I
back.
think he's
Fanny
gonna get
Logan's
home.
trying to come from way back. But it's still Elakam just about taking it up
Frankie.
now.
Come on, Elakam.
Come on, Frankie.
On the
Come on,
outside
Elakam.
is
Here comes
Fanny
Fanny
Logan and
Logan.
Frankie. Can Fanny Logan
on,
and Frankie
Elakam.
win it? It's getting very
Come
tight
on,
on the
Elakam.
inside.
Tough
And
it.
right over the top
Come
of
on,
all of them
Elakam.
is
Battle.
Frankie Dettori
Battle,
on
Elakam.
Fanny Logan.
Aye,
Fanny Logan from
Wow.
Elakam. The rag Alunak is going to keep
This is
second.
unbelievable.
Fanny Logan's going to win it by 2 lengths. Alunak at a huge
Come on,
price
get him
in
back
second.
up and
Is Defoe going to get
you
third? I
absolute-
think it is, yeah. Defoe gets third. The rest have finished in a heap. But Barry Orr knew again. This man is a bloody genius.
Well done, Barry Orr. And you were right. The Haydock run was probably a prep for this. Frankie Dettori will look pretty impressed with that. He's given her a pat down the neck and pointed at the camera. He must have really, really enjoyed that. Good call, Bruce. And good call, Barry Orr. What did we get in the place market? Remind us.
Yeah, she looks a nice filly, doesn't she? I think we backed her at around the 2-1 mark, Bruce, was it, in the place
Just
market?
short, 2.92. Never in doubt, Barry.
2.92 in the place market. We never was in doubt. They seem to go a good clip up front. Obviously, Communique set decent enough fractions. They finished very tired in behind. She was getting the £3, being a mare, getting the allowance, and she made it pay, didn't she? Those great colours that we've so much fond memories of for Sheikh Mohammed. Just looking at the head on here, when he went clear at the furlong pole, there was only going to be one winner. But fair play to the rag. Al Nuanak has stayed on best of the rest for second place. Anthony Van Dyke never got into contention. You could say the same about Defoe as well. But a very, very good winner, the Fanny Logan, and one to look forward to. It'll be interesting to see where they go with her now, because obviously they have an Abel in the yard and they have a whole host of other good older horses. But she's definitely one to look forward to this season.
You're bang on about Hamish there. You know, that's a cup horse.
Yeah, it
that
looked
needs
it,
that
didn't
needs 2.5 miles. Never mind any less.
Yeah, Goodwood Cup maybe next for him or something like that. Or I don't know. I mean, 108. Could I be thinking top weight in an Ebor or something like that? We'll find out what William Haggis thinks of that. Alunak, guys, by the way, second run
That's
for
an
Andrew
astonishing
Balding.
run, that.
20 lengths off Gayeth. in the Coronation
Wow.
Cup. What was Anthony Van Dyke doing? I mean, guys, this is to say the jury's out now. Paul Keeley reasoned that Ascot is a funny track on the round track. Some horses just don't like it.
It's the ground. It's the ground, Dave. I mean, if Aidan's told DJ he's never going to run him on soft again, he's run him on soft, and he's just, he's in that cluster for somewhere between 4th and 7th. It doesn't matter where, but I mean, now means it's 12 runs without a win for Derby winners. That's incredible, isn't it?
Great stat.
Mirando has taken too long to get going and didn't quite get there. Hamish has run on really well at the end.
I think it's a good run for Mirando. He probably just is that little bit paceless for the classy ones in this. It couldn't have worked out much better if you were on Fanny Logan. She's the horse that, and the stiffer finish has definitely played into her hands. The way that Hamish has finished, you have to say that they played their hands too early. Certainly, Elecam. I don't really blame Jim Crowley because he's obviously looking for Anthony Van Dyke. He can see Ryan on his inside scrubbing away, and he thinks, right, I've got to go. Because Anthony Van Dyke will finish. He just the fact he's had to go like that has meant he hasn't quite got home.
I've just thought, I mentioned earlier that gap between 4th and 7th doesn't matter. It does matter. I backed Elecam to finish in front of Anthony Van Dyke in a match bet. That was close.
Well,
if only I'd known, I would have got all excited about it.
I haven't really talked about the different vagaries yet of the betting. We will get into that. Racing Post Live here. And we're going to talk to you about all sorts of different ways of betting. And listen, there's the Hardwick Stakes. Listen, 17-2. She was well back. John Gosden. We didn't talk about his record beforehand. That's his first winner I can find of the Hardwick, amazingly. Alunak, a massive run there. No match at all. Beaten a distance behind Gayeth in the Coronation Cup. And last year's winner, Defoe. I guess, guys, he would be your benchmark.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's the absolute benchmark, as you say. I mean, he didn't run particularly well last time, having said that. But, Fanny Logan's is the interesting horse to take out now because, there's all sorts of options. And it's a great challenge for John Gosden now, isn't it? What he does with her. I love the early shout, Barry. Which furlong out did you have Fanny Logan as winning it? Probably 12, you're going to say, aren't you?
I mean, when he came with that sweep and run on the outside, I thought to myself, you can pick these up. It's whether she can sustain this effort or whether it'll peter out in her. But she stayed on all the way to the line, didn't she? She's introduced Bruce at 8-1 for the King George.
Interesting. That was an II to rival the II you gave me when the studio fell on my head on Tuesday, wasn't it? So listen, Barry, you're back in the game. Bruce is back in the game. I jumped onto Elecam. He just didn't stay. There you go. It's one of those things. Tactics probably weren't ideal, but there we are. Listen, what an absorbing Hardwick that was. Jury's out, isn't it? Andy Van Dyke. I guess that Aidan O'Brien will be hoping for a lot better from Lope Fernandez in the upcoming Commonwealth Cup. Let us know how you get on. What did you make of that? Were you with Barry? Were you with Bruce or myself? Did Elecam stay? Or was it just no good on the day? Racing Post Live, here we are. Facebook and YouTube as well. We're sizzling after 3 races. The Group 1 still to come, Bruce.
Barry, we should just have a chat about Anthony Van Dyke because he is the reigning Derby champion, isn't he? Because of the way the timings are this year, he's still the most recent horse to win an Epsom Derby. Would you give him one last chance on decent ground, do you think?
Most definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't be writing them off just yet. Their hand was forced. They travelled all the way over. What are they going to do after the rain? They can't take him out, really. They needed to get that. They needed to run him in the race. And they have, and he's just shown what Aidan O'Brien strongly hinted was the case. Like, all his good runs have been on Good to Firm, haven't they? When you look back, when he won the Derby, it was Good to Firm. When he was second to Guyat in Newmarket, it was Good to Firm. And we did say beforehand that round track doesn't seem to drain anywhere as close to as proficient in terms of drainage as the straight track is. And, he's paid the price for the ground. Having said that, he's has to prove that he's trained on as a 4-year-old and that he's a real force in these middle distance races. But you could write off that. I draw a line through that run and I'd give him another chance for sure.
I've just realised there's going to be a screaming mob outside the office when I get out because I called it the Epsom Derby. Ooh. And you know those snobs, don't you? You remember?
There is only one Derby anyway, and it's the is it Derby or Derby?
Derby. I didn't do that. I didn't commit a double sin there. But I did call it the Epsom Derby, and there's some snobs out there. There'll be men in tweed outside waiting to wring my neck.
I remember once speaking to an American punter and calling it the Derby to try and appease him. So I think I just did, and he went, "Excuse me, He said, it's the Derby. Yeah. You know, it's the Derby. Even the Americans think it's the Derby. Yeah, okay. So we're waiting on the time. I'll just ask the guys in the gallery to get us the time on that round course. But I imagine it's going to be, you know, probably good to softy, isn't it? I think, like what they're calling it, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, again, we talk about these people who they're on Twitter at 6 a.m. Does anyone live near Ascot? Was there any rain last night? Look, chill out. There'll be a going description.
All you
soon.
Ascoters, what's the rain
with
done?
That, honestly, what's the obsession
listen,
with it?
Absolutely, and let's hope that this is a week to absolutely trust what they're saying out there. I mean, everyone's got these, you know, high ground watering, you know, wizard theories and things like that. I think this year's just the year of all that will show us that that's probably not the case. Okay, shall we move on? The 3:35 Commonwealth Cup time, another sprint for you. And it's the Group 1 of the day, the 3-year-olds, the Commonwealth Cup. And is Lope Fernandez still favourite? He was backed in for Team Ballydoyle earlier on the day. Dave Jennings, absolutely mad keen on this one. Stall 1, we've seen it defied in the Norfolk. Let's have a look, Barry.
He certainly is. Well, Lope Fernandez and Pierre Lapin are almost joint favourites. 5.3 Lupi Fernandez, 5.1 Pierre. Golden Horde has been well supported. He's 6.4, 7.4 Kamari, and it's Mill Oil, who's not without a chance. She's 10 at the moment. It's 16-1 bar, 16-1 Royal Crusade. But it's a really, really competitive race, this. And again, full of unexposed horses at the trip. Pierre Lapin sets a decent enough standard, I suppose, considering what we saw him do last year in the Mill Reef. But Lope Fernandez, he's backing up quite soon after his run in the Irish 2000 Guineas. Golden Horde is a horse that liked the ground. Kamari just touched off in the Queen Mary at the meeting last year. What I'm going to do, though, Bruce, I'm going to Dutch 2 here in the lay market. I'm going to lay Pierre Lapin.
Is this in the classic 3 places?
No, this is just in the win market.
Oh, we're doing it on the win, okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to lay Pierre Lapin, and I'm going to lay Kamari.
Okay.
Obviously, Wesley Ward's horse run better. Golden Pal did in our earlier race. But I just think she's worth taking on. They're both worth taking on. I'm going to just take £25 of the backer stake for both of those horses.
Okay.
So we'll win £50 if neither Kamari or Pierre Lapin win the race.
We're not done yet on Pierre Lapin because we're 5.
That's okay. That'll get done.
That'll get done.
Yeah, that'll get done. That when it's 5.1, it'll go back over into the backside where you're looking for someone to come in and place a bet at 5.1. So I'm happy enough to leave that there. We've got Dunn and Kamari at 7.4. So we'll win £50 if any of anything else in the race wins other than Pierre Lapin and Kamari.
Barry, there's one thing I want to say, by the way, about Betfair and the Betfair exchange and the interface. Do you know what I love about it most? It's 20 odd years old now, isn't it? It's a little bit less than 21 years, and you've never changed it really. You've added a few subtle enhancements, but like Google's homepage, it's classic, it's classy. And unlike Twitter and various other sites, you don't feel the need to constantly meddle with it. Please keep it like this because it's so familiar, it works. The original design is brilliant.
Pink, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just great.
Pink. Blue to back, pink to lay, and that's what people know. And yeah, you're right, Bruce. We try not to change that interface because, and for a lot of online sites, a lot of it is about familiarity, and people don't like change. A lot of time we can change at the back end, all right, but the main interface we try to keep as classic as possible.
The only thing I would like you to change is my profit loss figure. If you can just up that a little bit.
You're talking to the right man. You're talking to the right man. And listen, let's talk to the right guys as well. My Racing Boys, time to bring them in. MyRacing.com. Check them out for expert analysis and tips as well. Massive following on Twitter, we know they've got. They started off with an absolute flyer, the 115. The race before we came on air with Art Power, massive gamble there. That was part of their treble. Mother Earth was the leg that let them down in the Albany. And Anthony Van Dyke, they went for in the last as well. They'll be licking their wounds there. But their nap comes up in the next. Golden Horde, really interesting horse actually, Golden Horde. Adam Kirby and Clive Cox in the 335. He again, guys, let's just home in on him quickly because Barry, he was around about 6-1 at the start of the day when I saw it. He's got form with Earthlight, certainly one of the best 2-year-old sprinters around anywhere last year. Do you think he's been slightly overlooked?
I wouldn't say it's been slightly overlooked. I think it's more just a case that the competitive nature of this race, Dave, it really is wide open, isn't it? It's 4 to field, little over 4 to field. His price, though, has been steady away for most of the day. He was matched at a high of 7.8 and a low of 5.8, so 2 ticks between that. But he's settled now at around the 11 to 2 mark, which is 6.4. it's a wide open contest. I'd rather be a laird and a backer here, Dave, and I am.
We're just seeing Frankie Dettori holding up 70 at Royal Ascot, and I guess that means. That means that's something special, isn't it, for Frankie? 70th winner. Ryan Moore's gone, he's
60.
something incredible.
I think he's 60, yeah.
It is 60, so a lot of time for Ryan to catch up. But it's a remarkable achievement, Frankie.
He's unbelievable, isn't he? Look at him. He still cavorts around like a kid, doesn't he?
He doesn't really look that much older.
I think he's 50 next year.
I saw a great interview with him. Yeah, he is, that's right. And he said, it was a great interview, with Lee Motter said during lockdown. And obviously I can't say it on air, but he went, let's give it a go, get into Leicester's age. Leicester was, 57 when he retired? Something like that. I remember that remarkable comeback at the Breeders' Cup, those old enough to do it. Frankie is still around. And listen, it's been it's a film, isn't it, waiting to happen?
Oh, massively.
We're on Big Brother.
Do you remember during the bad times, he looked finished, didn't he? And he got done. He had the ban, he did Big Brother, he looked a forlorn figure. And then when he finally came back in about May, I think it was actually Oaks Day, I think, and he had 3 rides at Nottingham or somewhere. And everyone was like, this is quite sad, he's going to be like one of these old kind of boxers who you see shuffling around at the small venues. And, but then, John Gosden isn't a super shrewd trainer of horses. He's like, hang on a sec, Frankie Dettori's free. I'll have
took him
some of that.
back under his wing as well.
And he's just switched the on button back onto Frankie's career, and they haven't looked back. This partnership now is as strong as any trainer-jockey combination you can ever remember. It's absolutely phenomenal.
And great memories there because he's done it in Sheikh Mo's colours. So, of course, we don't see them, the great colours, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
And
superb.
The decision not to run them in Britain, of course, because of his sons are coming into the game. So that's why. But we do.
They're the Sheikah's colours now, aren't they?
Yeah.
The daughter, the Sheikah, they're her colours.
Okay, yeah. So, right, okay. So, but we know them as Sheikh Mo's colours, don't we?
Now, I just want to warn you, Dave, you could fall foul of the pronunciation police here if you're not careful. Did you concentrate in French lessons at school?
Is it lapin?
What? Yeah, and what does it translate to?
I know you know your French.
Do you not know that?
No, is it rabbit?
Peter Rabbit.
Peter, I got it.
Well done.
Peter Rabbit. I think we must have had that conversation before because it came in. Oh, my wife actually said to me, lapin, that's rabbit, isn't it? So, yeah, interesting. I just want to touch back on Frankie again because we've got 20 minutes until the next race. I remember seeing him last year. I said this on the show. I saw him on the second day. He hadn't ridden the winner on the first day, and I saw him, and usually, you know what he's like, Bruce, he bounces in, doesn't he, wherever you are, ITV or Sky, or whatever you're doing, and he comes in the morning to do his interviews, hey, and he's bouncing around and doing it. I actually felt a little bit nervous, actually. He came and sat right down next to me, proper sour face. That was the day when he rode a couple of winners. He was back. However, on the Saturday, I went with some pals, I took it off, and I went, and we parked in car park 2, and I said, there he is, and they went, I've got to get a selfie. A couple of girls I was with, he was nervous around them, I could just tell. And he had the week of weeks, and he didn't really want to take the selfie. I got that vibe, and they came off thinking, that wasn't what I was expecting, not what you see in front of the cameras.
It's a shame, isn't it? Because I think he is generally really ebullient and life and soul, but there are other sides to Frankie.
There are.
He's not always Mr. Happy. And if you annoy him, I tell you what, my very first day as Racing Post editor, okay, I was appointed at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And obviously we had an edition to get out, but I'm just a whirl of activity and meetings and trying to take it all in and talking to people. Anyway, someone plonks the front page in front of me. It was 5 days before the Arc. And I went through it, and the headline said, Frankie, I'm on the Arc winner. He was riding authorised.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, okay, good. Next day, Frankie's on at the races going, I don't know who this Bruce Millington is, but if this is the Racing Post under him, he goes, I didn't say that. And he didn't.
Right.
I've been massively put away, to be honest. They completely flanned the quote up. So, and I just thought to myself, my goodness, this is a baptism.
You're in the hot sauce from that day on.
Frankie absolutely hates me. But, in the end, we're all right. And,
I must say, I get on with him all right. Barry, have you got a Frankie story? But it's interesting, isn't it? No crowds this year is what I was trying to get to. And I wonder if I think Frankie will be enjoying some of this. Everyone thinks he plays up to the cameras and that. But there's a little bit of pressure off Frankie as well for the social side of things.
Yeah, he does play up to the cameras now. I remember one time I was working for my father up in Leopardstown. I would have been quite young. My father was a bookmaker on course in Leopardstown, and it was Irish Champion Stakes Day. It was, I'd say, late 90s, early 90s probably. And Frankie was walking through, and I was setting up the joint, and I said to him, "Hi, Frankie, how's it going?" And he looked at me, and I said, "Hi," and he was like, "I don't know you," and I said, "No, of course you don't, but I'm just saying hi to you." And he just said, "Oh, no," and just kept walking. I just thought, oh, you ignorant so-and-so.
I don't think you're going to be doing this as your life, are you?
He does play up to the camera, and he's great for racing, blah-de-blah, but he does play up to the camera. Yeah. And he's not, and nobody can be like that all the time anyway. You're obviously, that's nobody's nature to be as effervescent as he is in front of the cameras. But that stuck with me that time, and it always stuck in my craw that, I was just saying hello to the guy, and he could have just said hello back, but he made an issue out of it. And he didn't know me, and I didn't know him, and he made an issue that I didn't know him, and I was saying hello to him. But it's probably not the story that everyone wants to hear. It's not great Frankie story. But
I'm welling up at that one.
Yeah, I mean, I would say moving on, and I've got moving on in my head. But at the same time, in that article with Lee Motter said, he said, my agents know I don't want to go to Windsor. Windsor's the one track where you've got to walk through the whole crowd, isn't it? So listen, this is the one face everyone used to know, the late John McCrick, didn't they? And Frankie Dettori. They were the two faces. Wherever he goes, Frankie, everyone wants a picture anyway. So look, 3 winners on the week, 70 winners in his career. Congratulations, Frankie Dettori, and he's on Kamari here, isn't he?
Yeah, he's well backed, isn't he, Barry? Really solid this one.
Yeah, very solid now for Wesley Ward Kamari, but I've laid it, Bruce, as you know, but into 6.6 now, and going in the right direction if you fancy it. But I've laid it at 7.2 or 7.4 around that mark. But happy enough to lay it. I'm just, even with Frankie on board. Well, just touched off by a horse that Frankie rode in the Queen Mary last year, funny enough.
Raffle prize, wasn't it? Yeah.
Raffles prize, yeah. Johnny Velasquez, I think, rode Kamari.
Yeah, it worked out to be a really good Queen Mary as well. Liberty Beach on the far side that day. Okay, before you get our tips, let's have some stats for the Group 1 of the day. Stats coming at you from all angles there, and there's a nice little guide for you on the screen, well put together by the Gallery team. The Gallery team have had a great week, haven't they? We've got a really good team. We should give them a quick mention, shall we?
Absolutely. Dan and Rob and Elliot, superb. Yeah. Total pros. Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, and
they even got the KFC in earlier.
They got a KFC, the first KFC since lockdown. Unbelievable. That was Dan's doing. And bursting our ears whenever they're screaming them home. So they're big racing fans as well out there. What about Paul Keeley? Should we go to him? Now let's test the Gallery team. Are they ready for this? Let's see what Paul Keeley, King Keeley, look for the crown. Let's see what he thinks about the Commonwealth Cup.
Pierre Lapin made a big impression on me last year, winning both his races in good style, including the Mill Reef at Newbury. The only thing is that both of those are on good to firm ground, and he's running now on soft ground first time out against horses who've had a run. I'm going to try and take him on in what now looks a wide open Commonwealth Cup. And the American horse Kamari for Wesley Ward looks very interesting. She was second last year in the Queen Mary to Raffle Prize. She led everywhere by the line, probably went a little bit too quick. But since then, she's been held up in her races, and she's looked really good coming from off the pace. She powered home on a sloppy track at Oaklawn last time, only a couple of months ago. And if she repeats that form here, she's going to go very close.
There we go, Kamari for kills then. Well done, Gallery team. Absolutely seamless stuff.
What do you make of the draw here now, guys?
Oh, interesting.
Kamari drawn 11 out on the right side, and Lupi Fernandez drawn 1.
Yeah, no. Lope Fernandez, are you with him or against him? I think Dave Jennings, I'm right in saying this was his strongest of the... Oh no, that comes in the last race actually, but he's very keen on Lope Fernandez. And actually, if you look, forgive me, whoever did the analysis of the Irish Guineas, but I read that earlier, and it's just a classic race form type Racing Post comment. Will be very interesting back in 6, a bit like a US Navy flag. He looked a bit short, didn't he, in the Guineas?
Well, let's look at it, okay? I don't think this is necessarily the greatest Commonwealth Cup. I'd said at the start of the show that it's probably the weakest we've had, which is no bad thing because the others have all been really, really strong.
Okay.
But there are potential horses in here, obviously. That's the nature of the race. So you can't really tell. They're almost all... We're judging almost entirely 2-year-old form plus a couple of runs they've wedged in since the restart. So it's probably a bit early to write it off. My feeling is it's not necessarily vintage. Again, time will tell. But... if you're looking at an outstanding form line, go back last year to the Chesham, where Pinatubo and Lope Fernandez served up a fantastic finish to that race.
He broke his heart a bit, didn't he?
He did. I mean, I think he probably won by about 2.5 in the Infinity, but there was no disgrace there to finishing second to the best 2-year-old we've seen in years, and that includes Frankel. Even the third, not that the form needed Frankel, but the third was Highland Chief, who won yesterday. So you could argue, if you were looking back at this race in an hour's time, and you went back through the form and you stumbled across that Chesham form line, you'd be like, well, why on earth did I back anything else? So I couldn't put anybody off Lope Fernandez, absolutely nobody.
Should we talk about his breeding? He's by Lope de Vega, French Derby winner. I looked at the dam, Black Dahlia. She was pretty pacey, I seem to remember, but she got a mile quite well. She's 3 from 4 with her progeny to have tried 6 furlongs. So the speed is there, and I think they're obviously looking at that. He was behind Golden Horde in the middle park, behind Earthlight. He ran all over, and I think that's why they didn't come to our Guineas, because they just didn't fancy him at Newmarket. So, look, the market's strong on him. They've won this with the likes of Caravaggio, haven't they? They know what they're doing. It'll be very interesting to see what he does from stall 1, Ryan Moore, won't it?
I think it goes straight. I think they'll ignore it. They have to. It's a sprint. You can't mess around in this race. You've seen Oisin win the Norfolk, a 5 furlong race from stall 1. So why are you not going to do that?
Is that your pick?
No, I've gone for one here. A massive, massive price.
Not Mum's Tipple.
No, although we should talk about Mum's Tipple. There's a filly here who, if you look at her profile, you look at her form and figures, you're like, hang on a sec, what on earth is she on about? And she's called Chardon. She's the bottom one, trained by Andrew Balding, who is, as we've said before, banging form. Now, this thing's, what's it, 0-1-3-3-1-9. Okay, where's the clue? The clue is that if you segment her form over 6 furlongs, she's won 3 from 4. And she was less than 2 lengths behind Pierre Lapin in a race last autumn. So I'm really just going on the fact that she might have a little bit more in the locker, and that she is currently 46 to back and Pierre Lapin is 5 to back. I just think sometimes, you shouldn't be afraid to take a chance on a runner like this. So I've gone with Chardon. I've backed her to win, and I've also gone all through the place options. So 3 places, 4 places, and 5 places. So that's my selection. It could completely blow out. I haven't had large stakes, but I just thought Chardon was interesting.
Did you see it at the Breeders' Cup last year then? Because you said you went, didn't you?
I did go, yeah, but I mean, they tilted her at a mile, didn't they?
Yeah,
I mean, it just wasn't
behind
her thing.
sharing. That's right. But she's been bought by Katsumi Yoshida, who, if you know Japanese racing, he's a mammoth owner down there. Really interesting colours, actually. You're right. You shouldn't be able to afraid of taking a price. I've gone for Peter Rabbit, and I'm pleased to see it's dried out a little bit. I know that this is the one that they think is, this could just, it sounds funny, doesn't it, saying taking Roger Varian to the next level. But I think they think this is their championship horse. Don't think they've ever had a horse like this. They've minded him all the way. I looked at the breeding to see, obviously Harry Angel, who we know, superb sprinter. He won on heavy ground. Remember the Sprint Cup at Haydock. He was by Dark Angel, which is slightly more of a soft ground influence than Capella San Severo. It's early days over Capella San Severo. Do you remember him, Barry? Joe Lyons' 2-year-old that placed in the Coventry.
I certainly do.
Yeah,
I certainly do. Yeah.
And what's the dam called?
It's called
Beatrix Potter.
Beatrix, but
who wrote
I should have known this.
Peter Rabbit.
My son would be absolutely absurdly angry if I didn't go for this. So Pierre Lapin, Peter Rabbit for me all the way, and I'm not worried. I just think this is. I think it's so classy. The Mill Reef is a great stepping stone for this, and hasn't literally every variant horse run to their mark or beyond it so far.
I remember on Wednesday, I might have been another show where we were talking, I think it was this show actually, we were talking about Roger Varian Gamble's a bit like, the new Tony Martin, how you don't need to worry about. And then since then, obviously, Fugera Prince bolted up in the last turn.
That was the start
and then the thing yesterday,
absolutely
whizzed
Calusi was just different.
What do I know?
I haven't seen that absolutely.
But I mean, Roger Varian, not only a great trainer, but such a nice guy. Such a nice guy. I must admit, I'm gonna make a little.
He's very formulaic after each race. Like he kind of, he doesn't get overly excited.
No,
sure,
he's a gent. He's a real
fluent
gent.
in Japanese. His wife's Japanese.
He's a real gent. And I tell you what, you wouldn't get mugged off by him. And he would always say hello. And there's some trainers who will not give you the time of day. That guy's always been so courteous and so nice. Yeah, he has. He's got a real calm about him. And I don't own racehorses, but if I did, I'd certainly quite like to have one with Roger Varian because he knows the time of day and he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He was a national hunt jockey back in the day.
Was he really?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I don't
he rode
remember that.
last month. Yeah, yeah.
And of course, he was
Postponed was probably, you're talking about his best horse. I'm sure Postponed was probably, his top flag bearer for a long time for
King
the yard.
George.
Yeah, albeit that Luca did, a lot of the prep. He inherited him off Luca, didn't he?
He did. That's right, because Obeid put all of his horse. He who must be obeyed.
Yeah,
He who must be obeyed.
He must be
Great
obeyed.
line.
For Obeid as well, hasn't he?
Michael Jarvis's pupil. Do you remember? And
Yeah, exactly.
Michael Jarvis was just absolute one of my favourite trainers of all time, the late Michael Jarvis. Should we just talk about a couple of other guys? Barry, you mentioned Millard. Before we get to that, Mum's Tipple. Remember Sam Laurie used to work for the Racing Post, used to do all the RPTV stuff. He got hold of me today. He had a daughter on Monday. Congrats, Sam, if you're watching.
Well done, Sam.
Sam, who used to be in the press huddles with you guys.
Another very calm man.
Yeah, very, very calm man. Gone on to work for John O'Spence now. And he said that, listen, I've had one tip all week. Hannon told me his best chance, and Sam knows all the trainers. His best chance is Mum's Tipple.
Well, look, go on, Barry.
I was just going to say, I keep going back to the race in York that day. Remember when he won, 9 lengths or something incredible like that? It might have even been 11.
It was 11 lengths, yeah. Amazing.
Ryan Moore got a 2-day ban for excessive use of the whip that day. The horse was clear. He fully dipped it that day. I thought it was for sale, and you got to win this, and you win it as much as you can because this is being sold. But
and the Speed Figure boys went mental, didn't they? And it's just York form. If you go back to his Ascot debut, Barry, who did he just touch off? Malatham, who was the Jersey winner yesterday. So look, if he bounces back, you are looking. You're definitely on a 16-1. I can't.
I backed him in the Guineas, and I was ashamed of myself.
I remember you were keen on him.
I almost felt like I had to go and have a shower. Now, the stupidest bets you ever have are the ones on horses that are too short. So you shouldn't beat yourself up if you back a horse at a big price and it blows out. That's fine. That's betting. But I was amazed to see when I was going through the tipping section of the Racing Post last night that someone had tipped it. Keith Melrose has put it up, and he makes a really good point. He says everyone now thinks that York run was just this kind of weird one-off freak performance that wasn't really him. But that's not physically possible. You can't suddenly, if you're a 10.3 100-metre runner, you can't suddenly run 9.9. Yeah. So that's his best form. And as the point Keith makes, he was lame the subsequent time as a 2-year-old, and he also had difficulties in the Guineas as well. So he says there are justifiable, valid excuses there. So if you are prepared to forgive those 2 runs and you're just focusing on the York performance, then you can't you can't write this horse off. I've actually, since Barry mentioned Mum's Tipple there, while he was talking, I just went and had a little friendly tenner at 22 because I just thought to myself, hang on a sec, if that wins, I'm going to kick myself. Yeah, well, I'm going to be crushed. I'm trying not to let betting crush me anymore, remember?
I remember your newfound... Yes, indeed.
No, I'd cry like a baby for 10 minutes and then I'd be all right. But look,
it's newfound.
I think it's it's one of those ones. I think Keith Melrose actually brilliantly called it a FOMO bet. Where you
fear of missing out.
Exactly. So you do that. You were going to talk about Mill Isle as well, who's interesting, isn't she?
The female Mum's Tipple, Barry, didn't get home in the Guineas.
Didn't get home in the Guineas, no, but I wouldn't write her off yet. The only thing, if that ground is still plenty of giving it, but she's by Star Spangled Banner, and I don't think they'd appreciate that. I like FOMO, lads. I'll be using that in the future.
Yeah. Get with your abbreviations, Barry. Get with your abbreviations. You've got little ones. They'll be telling you soon.
The one thing about Millard, though, is the stable is in top form, isn't it? Jessica, she's got a couple of nice runners tomorrow as well, and that's what I'm sure we'll get on to later. But Millard, I think, will appreciate dropping back to the 6 furlongs. If this race hasn't come too soon, she won't disgrace herself out of stall 8.
You say she's in great form, but all of a sudden, at the start of this resumption of racing, everyone was concentrating on a trio of Jessie's fillies, weren't they? Albina, flop in the Irish Guineas. Millard didn't get home but flopped. It was a very short price in the Irish Guineas. And Alpine Star, who you're right, with Frankie on tomorrow for the Niarchos family, runs in the Coronation Cup. There's a little bit of pressure all of a sudden, Barry, I think.
I'm not so sure. I think dropping back in trip is the right thing to do here. With Mill Isle, I think she clearly didn't stay at the mile, and the 6 furlongs is going to suit her. She's a group winner over 6 furlongs as a 2-year-old. Alpine Star, like you say, we'll get to see tomorrow. And the other horse, I don't think she flopped in the Guineas in the Irish 1000 Guineas. She ran adequately, I suppose. I think the ground was way too fast for her, though.
But she was expected to win, Barry, wasn't she? And she was a short price. And
she was very well fancied, and I wouldn't be giving up on her just yet either, Dave.
Okay, well, that's good to hear because I've got her in my 10 to follow. So I'm hoping she does bounce back indeed. Where are they, Bruce? They're just down at the start.
Just circling. I'm just looking down the card and just thinking how mad it is to see some of these really unfamiliar Aidan jockey bookings. Sean Levy rode for him yesterday. Today, Pat Cosgrave and SDS are riding for him.
SDS.
It's just so mad, isn't it?
That is a weird one.
I love it. I think it's so cool.
Pat Cosgrave used to ride for him over here.
Right.
As did Sean Levy started his career with him.
Southern Hills is a really interesting horse that SDS is on because
won the 2-year-old race last year.
Windsor Castle, and that has been given some credence since. I'm trying to find the horse Symbolise, who was 4th in it last year, really well fancy, ran really well this week behind Molatham, of course. So look, it's there. Don't be totally surprised. It's a wide open looking Commonwealth Cup. They are going into the gates. Really enjoyed our analysis of that, guys. Very much indeed. I think we've just about got it covered. A reminder of where you've played, Barry.
I've laid both Pierre Lapin and Camari. I've Dutched them in the lay market. So I win 50 quid if anything wins, bar those two.
Well, I'm on Pierre Lapin, and you've taken an absolute flyer.
On Chardon down the bottom, but I've also had a little bit on Mum's Tipple as well.
Good luck wherever you are going. It's Group 1 time again here on the week. Over to Bruce Millington.
6 furlongs the trip, nearly all in, and they are all out, slightly slow away out the back. That looked to be Ventura Rebel, but the pace is being cut out by Mum's Tipple on the far side. Also well up there, Aberama Gold, one for the Peaky Blinders fans. In third, also over the far side, we've got Royal Lytham. Coming down the near side in a prominent position is Golden Horde. Southern Hills is going well in the Magna colours. The bright yellow of Pierre Lapin is prominent in 6th. And also down the near side, we've got Mill Isle going okay. Let's look for any of the other market principals. No, I think that's about it. Where's Lopi E. Fernandez? It's over the far side with a fair few to pass. As Mum's Tipple, is this the York Mum's Tipple coming back as they come onto the racecourse proper? If you've backed Golden Horde down the near side, you're going to be pleased. Also going well is Southern Hills. On the far side now coming to challenge is Royal Lytham. Lopi Fernandez isn't going to be winning. Mill Isle's trying to put it down to them. Golden Horde down the near side. Here comes the Godolphin, Royal Crusade. The green colours of Kimari's going well, but it's Golden Horde from Kimari. The action is down the near side. Golden Horde! Golden Horde is in front for Adam Kirby and Clive Coxon. He's going to get the job done. In second, it's Kimari. Battling it out for third is, I think, blimey, who is it? Royal Commando, possibly? But there's no doubt about the winner, Golden Horde, Clive Cox, Adam Kirby, the Commonwealth Cup champion.
They've done it again. What a record they have on the straight track. 5-1. Well done to the boys at myracing.com. That was their big nap of the day. That was the horse. There were some awful performances in that, which we will dissect for you shortly. The one thing to say, Barry, he took it up a long way out. How big did he go? How short did he go?
A long way out, yeah. Well, obviously, he traded at 101, but Camari traded low at 3.5, which is 5-2. Again, the winner drawn 10, and he's the one closest to the stand side. Camari has really given it a good buckle under Frankie Dettori, but just not good enough on the day. A couple of them flattered to deceive. Royal Crusader was one. Mom's Tipple has ran a good race. Lupi Fernandez never got into it. Pierre Lapin finished stone cold last. He must be hard to keep sound, that horse.
Yeah.
But the winners won going away at the finish from Camari, and I don't know what's third.
Third is either Royal Commando or Ventura Rebel. It's Ventura Rebel, 50-1, just beat Royal Commando. So some big price third and fourth there.
Richard Fahey running really well, and good to see actually that. And all near side, wasn't it, guys, as well?
It was, yeah. The bias is back.
I mean, he's literally ended up on the rail.
3-1 for the July Cup, gentlemen.
3-1.
The winner gets a quote for the July Cup of 3-1.
Well, I guess that might change after the Diamond Jubilee tomorrow. That seems pretty short, doesn't it? But I guess he's going to improve for the run, and he's got form on undulating tracks. We saw that on the Rolling Mile last year. What a lovely Clive Cox project this is going to be again. Such a good trainer of sprints. Harry Angel, of course, brother to Pierre Lapin. Yeah, Pierre Lapin, as Barry mentioned there, sadly just didn't look right at all. It looked at one stage, would you believe it, like the two market leaders were going to finish last and second last. Lopi Fernandez ran no sort of race whatsoever. I guess probably if you're dissecting that one, it came a bit too soon for him.
Yeah, I've tipped another Clive Cox horse later on at a massive price. Yeah, I mean, Pierre Lapin is out the back of the TV. Lopi Fernandez nowhere. Mum's Tipple's absolutely faded away as well.
Southern Hills has run quite well, guys. It's the first run, the Windsor Castle runner. He looks like he's going to come on and win a nice race this season.
And the Godolphin horse Royal Crusade hasn't run badly, and only its 4th start as well. But time
where did
will
Mill Isle finish?
Who?
Mill Isle. Where did she finish? She was in the middle of the group. Up the middle of the track.
Hardly sighted. We'll try and pick that up for you. I'll get the finishing position very shortly indeed, and the time.
Do you know what? I mean, it's a good win, but I'm not sure I could take 3-1 for the July Cup.
The race has fallen apart, hasn't it? No Pierre Lapin in the finish, no Lope Fernandez in the finish. I mean, Kamari, I guess, does give it the weight, doesn't it? And the two of them did dominate the finish. Ventura Rebel is a horse I think we're probably going to hear quite a bit more of, but he looks like a 7-furlong horse to me. He was a little bit unlucky at Newcastle on his return in that Group 3, but no more than that, I don't think. So the first two, if you take a very, very positive view, even then 3-1, I agree, it's pretty sure. But we know this firm, they can do it, can't they?
Of course they can, yeah. And may well be progressive. And of course he's got positive as well, hasn't he, in the St James's Palace tomorrow.
Good shout.
Who a lot of people think will run well in a race that I think that's the race of the week. That I can't wait for that.
We get our lay money anyway, boys. For
never in doubt.
Barry Orr coming back. So I'll tell you what, this is a tale of two halves with the charity money, isn't it? We were a little bit down going into the Thursday, and thanks to Neil Hubbard yesterday and Barry today, it's coming right back up now, which is absolutely lovely. So that was the Commonwealth Cup. Oh, goodness gracious me. Where were you? What happened to Pierre Lapin and Lope Fernandez? One went wrong. One just didn't really turn up. And Millard, and again, another horse that's maybe got a little bit to prove now as well. But Golden Horn, lots of you fancied out there. As I said, the guys at My Racing, they napped it. And Adam Kirby and Clive Cox just do have a big fan base, don't they? Because they tend to keep it simple all the time. There's nothing really that frilly about them, is it? And they get the job done. And on the straight track at Ascot, you think about Queen Mary's and the likes, Harry Angel as well, Sprint Cups. They really, when they've got one, they tend to go on these rolls.
Yeah, Kirby to me is like, he's one of those jockeys that if you back him and the money's down, you really do feel a sense of reassurance, don't you? Because he just doesn't mess about, does he, Kirby?
He's a fascinating character. He's kind of been up there all the way. We're just watching the early stages. He grew up in the Lambourne area with the likes of James Doyle and Will Buick, and they used to call him Moon Man at all the pubs and stuff because they used to say he was an absolute lunatic when in his younger days. He's calmed right down. Do you remember a couple of years ago when he had the double? I think it was his son or daughter were born on the same week, and he'd been there overnight at the hospital and that thing, and he only just got there for the ride. He's not a strange success. It's gone a little bit quiet for him, hasn't it? Certainly with big race success, but they're back in no uncertain terms. Pace is held up there again, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is going to set punters' minds whirring again with the draw bias, because we thought with the Norfolk, with the horse winning from stall 1, well, maybe it's actually not that, but definitely, you couldn't watch that and think it wasn't favoured, could you?
We're off the straight track now, of course. The last two races we've got, we're whizzing through this, guys, aren't we, today? We're off the straight track, and for next we've got the Queen's Vase coming up over on mile 6, and then we've got the Duke of Edinburgh Handicap as well. We'll wait for a time on the straight track. I just want to go back for times with the next two races in mind, because it has come through for me. It was the Hardwick was slow by 6 seconds, 5.99. So again, it probably was ground for Anthony Van Dyke, wasn't it, if you're looking at that literally. Okay, social comments. Let's see if we can get some more of these in. Listen, we've still got 2 more races to go on the penultimate day. And we'd like to know you're out there watching on YouTube or indeed Facebook as well. Facebook numbers are really good indeed. And I'm Dave Orton. Bruce Millington's with me as well. And Barry Orr propping up the side for the tips and the betting selections. I know you like to react early to what Barry does. So we'll sign off now from the Commonwealth World Cup. And it's gone in complete contrast towards the future Cup horses. It's the Stayers race. It's the Queen's Vase coming up on mile 6. There's been a real big gamble in this race, Barry, as well, hasn't there? Berkshire Rocco for Andrew Balding. Perhaps you can tell the punters exactly where you're playing nice and early so they can react. Let's get the market up, the screen up first.
Yeah, he's a horse that really interests me. When I did the race last night, I put him up. I thought he was, English Gent is a real live contender for the Derby. And, he beat him fair and square, but he stuck to the task really well in the Lingfield Derby trial. He's been matched at a high of 5.7 on the Betfair exchange. He's into 3.75 now, which is 11-4. I thought he'd take a bit of beating. And having said that, it's not a race to go mad in, because this is full. Chock-a-block of unexposed horses. You have Bournemouth Pride there that was the favourite this morning, but is out to 7-2 now. She won a listed race first time up for William Haggis. She disappointed last day, but you'd nearly forgive her that, and she gets her favourite ground. But what looks like her favourite ground here, you have a couple in there from Aidan O'Brien that have won maidens, and they're bred to be absolute champions, and they could be anything for this step up and trip. But I just like the way Berkshire Rocco went around it, about his business that day, and I think I'm going to back him, Bruce, and I'm going to put into laying back in running.
Okay.
I think he'll trade short in running, and he might just. He didn't seem to have a big turn of foot at all in Lingfield, and I don't think he has a turn of foot, and he could come here to win his race, and they just might set it up for something coming from off the pace to do him. That's a potentially what could happen, the way I'm reading it. So if we back him at 3.75, have 50 quid on him at that price, and then I'd be happy enough to lay back 50 quid at even money. Okay. If he goes any shorter than that, we'll get mashed. But I think he could trade evens or shorter in running and may not win.
Okay, so we've had the bullseye laid accommodated at 3.75. So now what I do, Barry, is I hit the lay button, don't I?
You go over the other side and you go lay.
Yeah.
And you just take the tick down to 2, which is even money on Betfair. So 2 obviously is decimal, and that's even money, and put in to take 50.
And then we've got the important bit, haven't we?
Yeah.
We have to go keep bet.
Keep bet.
And what keep bet does, Barry, is if you don't hit that, as soon as the stall's open, all bets are cancelled unless you've clicked keep bet. So
all bets are cancelled on the Betfair exchange when a race goes in play unless you have selected keep bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like Ross Briley's watching.
I'm sorry, listen, let's hope he's not, because it worked in our advantage. But yeah, quite right. I didn't think he'd be this short, Barry. I've got to be honest.
No, neither did I.
I've put him up as well. I wrote the analysis race for the Zetland, in which he finished, was it second or third? Second, I think, wasn't it? To Max Vega of Rafe Beckett's on awful ground. I just love the way he kept to his task set down. I think I wrote something like, he looks like he's going to stay well. And again, everything at Lingfield, you're right, by an English King. In that Derby trial, massive player for the Derby for Ed Walker. I think we're going to see a boost here. I hope we are. He just kept so well to his task. And as Paul Keeley said to me this morning, without English King in the race, we'd be looking at a 7 or 8 length winner of a Lingfield Derby trial, which last year provided a Derby winner. So maybe that's what everyone's latching onto. Andrew Balding having a great season so far, a great week indeed. I honestly did not think he would be favourite head of the O'Brien battalion.
I did. I don't see anything. I think he's. I know it's exposed. There's a lot of exposed horses in this, but this thing is absolutely rock solid.
Have you put him up?
I have. Yeah. Do you know what? Last night I was doing my tips, and I went with Born with Pride, and then I've done a little run around. I've switched across to Berkshire Rocco just because I think Born with Pride's run where it beat Peaceful first time up is probably good enough to win it. But the next run at Kempton, for all that race has been throwing up winners and good horses, was pretty ropey. And so I just think that if Born with Pride reproduces the first run, it'll probably win. If it reproduces the second one, it won't. And I just trust Berkshire Rocco more. This horse is strong, and and if you like English King, which I think we all do to a man and a woman, then I don't see how you can't like this horse. The Lingfield Derby trial provided the Derby winner last year. It's kind of back in vogue. It's provided the favourite this year. This Berkshire Rocco is really, really rock solid. He wasn't a flashy 2-year-old, but I just don't... I can see 1 beating him. I can't see 3 beating him. So I've had a decent thump on him place only, actually. That's the way to go.
This is a team bet then. 3 ticks for the first time, I think, between us all week.
That's the first time all week. That's the first time since we started this little gig, even in Newmarket over 2 days.
What could go wrong?
What can go wrong? Absolutely.
Hey, stay positive, lads. Stay positive.
Quite
please.
right. I'll tell you, it's the price thing. I thought he'd be third or second favourite because of the firms that are involved here. Of course, Andrew Balding won this race last year with Dashing Willoughby. And I remember that Queen's Vase last year. You might remember this, Barry, as well, and Bruce as well. I don't know if you were in the top press room at Ascot when we were allowed in there last year. The likes of Cornelius Lyser, Alistair Down in particular. They've been at some lunch or something with the Balding. They've been to Kingsclere. Yeah. And the only thing they wanted to tell us at the start of the day was Dashing Willoughby. And it got punted all the way into 6-1. And you remember Oisin Murphy giving the mother and father a ride, and it came out in top. So, look, maybe I'm wrong. And on official ratings, there's only one above him. But with Aidan O'Brien's record in particular, Barry, in this, he's had 10 runners in the last decade. 5 of them have won. 4 of them have come in the last 6 years. Santiago looks like the sizzler.
Yeah, he really does. Him and Nobel Prize, they're both really well bred. They're both sons of well, one's a son of Orton and one's a son of Galileo, so there's no problem stepping up and trip. But for my money, the maidens that they won didn't seem to work out at all really over here. Now, having said that, like, they are going to improve for the step up and trip, but I'm willing to take them on, although they're very unexposed. But you can say that about all the 9 runners in here. They really are unexposed.
Okay, let's get to Paul Keeley then, King Keeley, and see exactly what he thinks about the penultimate race, the Queen's Vase.
The Queen's Vase is another race with a strange favourite in Born with Pride. She impressed first time out, beating 1,000 subsequent 1,000 guineas winner Peaceful on soft ground. But then first time out this season, she finished only 7th in a classic trial behind Berlin Tango, and she showed very, very little. Obviously, there were plenty of people who think the soft ground is going to bring her back to her best, but she's running in a Group 3 at Royal Ascot, and she doesn't deserve to be favourite. I like the look of Aidan O'Brien's Santiago. O'Brien knows what he's doing with stayers. He's won 4 of the last 6 runnings of this, including with 2 subsequent St Ledger winners, and Santiago seems to be his number 1.
Santiago then, and I think that Dave Jennings backed him up as well this morning when I spoke to the pair of them. Santiago looked Ryan Moore's pick. Let's concentrate on that just for a second. Everyone thinks that Ryan gets the pick of these rides. I've been told it's otherwise. Have you ever had a steer on that?
I've heard what you've heard. I don't believe it's binary. Do you honestly think that Aidan just says, Ryan, you're riding this, Shamey, you're riding that, Podrick Beggy, you're riding that? There has to be... You look at how he talks to his jockeys and consults them when they're walking the track. There must be dialogue, mustn't there?
Barry?
Of course there is, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. They know what they're doing. They try to take out as many invariables as possible, and that's their attention to detail, and that's what sets them apart, especially Aidan O'Brien.
And the one thing that's really annoyed us about it over the years is, like Willie Mullins over the jumps, me and you have spoken this a bit, they're always the ones that are never jocked up in the decks, aren't they?
Exactly.
And that's a real headache, because everyone wants to know what Ryan Moore is riding, but it turns out that they've tried to pour cold water on that. Sometimes he doesn't get the pick. I'm pretty sure he would have picked this one. So let's concentrate.
I have no doubt Ryan Moore gets the pick. Okay. No doubt whatsoever that he gets the pick. And when he doesn't know the horses himself, he's taking direction from Aidan.
Well, that's exactly it, isn't it? It's not a binary thing. Like I say, there would be times where Ryan would say, "Look, I don't know. You tell me. I haven't ridden these ones particularly lately, or whatever." They're going to. It's going to be a collaborative process, isn't it? And sometimes they'll get it right, and sometimes they'll get it wrong. And what punters have always got to remember, because people place far too much importance on jockey bookings. Sometimes it's a 50-50 call, or even if it's a 45-55 call, it's a really hairline call. They just don't know. And yet people go, "Oh, blimey, he's gone with this one. Oh, that must be the one."
Yeah.
Honestly, don't read so much into it.
You hear stories from yesteryear. Rodrigo Di Triano, I think I remember the one, with Lester Piggott jockeying, his great rivals off to, and some of the. You're right, it is a very, very tight call, isn't it? Santiago then, 2 seconds. First time out last year, and then won the maiden. I think that's just all right for him. I tried to look into his pedigree, but the more obvious stayer to me is Noble Prize. The guys at My Racing, who are on an absolute fire after their Nap Golden Orb went in, they've gone for Noble Prize. Frankie Dettori takes the ride. His pedigree, Barry, looks the more interesting to me with the trip in mind. He's a Galileo out of a mare called Havega, who's turned out Highland Real, and Idaho, more importantly. He was a real stamina influence. How is he in the market?
Yeah, he won a nice maiden in Nace on heavy ground, so we know he goes on the ground. And the market at the moment, he's 5.3, Dave. He has been matched at a high of not so much over the 5.3. He was matched at a high, of 6.2. So he's still steady enough. He's just come in a tick. Berkshire Rocco, though, is still around the 3-1 mark, 130 Born with Pride. Al Daraban, who we haven't spoken about yet, he's not without a chance. He's currently a 6-1 chance for Charlie Appleby and William Buick. First time blinkers for him. He went to the well 4 times as a 2-year-old and won 2 of them. He seems tough enough too.
I just don't see how you could. I just don't see how you can back Santiago on ratings, on form, on anything other than the name of the trainer and the name of the jockey. You're paying an enormous premium. I'm not saying he can't win, of course, but this is one of the more exaggerated instances to me of the labels next to the horse's name, i.e. the trainer and the jockey, rather than the form. Now, against that, you back an Aidan O'Brien horse at a shorter price because he's a genius of a trainer.
It's a touring
so
cost
if
in
he
this
is going
race
to be
as well,
able
isn't
to
it?
bring him forward, he can. But that doesn't do it for me here. You've got Berkshire Rocco with a stack of really, really solid form. You've got Born with Pride with one excellent run and one not so excellent run. And then you've got Aldebaran, as Barry says, with decent form in the book. It's got to come past all of those. I just don't see it myself. In fact, I'm going to have a little place laid. But I tell you what, I was just thinking one thing, because we tend to kind of get quite fixated on trainer form towards the end of a big meeting. Everyone's like, oh, he hasn't had a winner, So I've just looked at William Haggas's form at Royal Ascot. I make it 9 runs, 3 seconds and a third. Now, and they're almost all with horses at fairly big prices. All right, Addy ran as well as you would have thought. So Montahan was second at 23 at 8-1. Yazaman, the 2-year-old, was second at 20-1 of 18. And also Dancing in the Street was third in our first race at 20. So they're not bang out of form by any means. There's nothing wrong with the stable form. He also had that winner at Beverley that you backed, King's Castle. So I don't think there's anything to worry about with William Haggas's form.
No.
And it may well be that, this is his turn and he'll go and dip his bread in this race.
He's been a little bit unlucky with the weather, hasn't he, as well? Because Dave wanted the rain to come, it didn't. Hamish wanted a bit more, for example. Convict earlier in the week, you think about horses like that. OK, the 2-year-olds haven't stacked up. If we concentrate on Born to Pride for a little bit, William's comments when he said about the Kempton run, he said, I don't want to run here. Taking on the Colts is madness. But if you remember, she started favourite in that race. I remember when we did our rehearsal for bringing everything back at the Guineas meeting, Barry, that was the race that we tested on, do you remember? And I said to you beforehand, a colleague gave this to me, Born to Sea, the Sarova on the all-weather at Kempton in particular, was 0 from 74. So everything was wrong for her. Everything.
I'm amazed. You rehearsed this.
We did. We did rehearse this. Well, and let me tell you, the first one didn't go great, but the second one, Barry Orr was pleased, and we came rolling back. We absolutely did. But listen, it was all wrong for her. I was surprised to see her at 5-2 favourite, but then you're right. You look at her form. She's got she's got that Irish Guineas winner behind in Peaceful. OK, maybe didn't like the track at Newmarket.
And might not be a brilliant Irish Guineas.
And may not be a brilliant Irish Guineas. But behind her, she had the Pretty Polly winner, Run Wild, who we thought might be a bit flattered that day. But I can reveal that in tomorrow's Coronation Stakes, she's been napped by the Racing Post Spotlight team. So listen, are we looking, on form? But this is an interesting move with the trip, isn't it? Why not just give her a nice run back and then go for something like the Oaks or something like that? Maybe this Domino Darling in the stable is the one for the Oaks. I don't know.
She was entered in the Ribblesdale earlier in the week, wasn't she?
She was.
Pride? And when the rain didn't come, he took her out and he said he'd wait for later on in the week. So she was going to be a Ribblesdale filly. But obviously the weather forecast or the weather scuppered that. But here she is rocking up at an additional 2 furlongs as well in against the Colts.
But back on turf, it's a huge angle, and the form, it's there to see, isn't it? So I think now around about 3-1. What is she, Barry, on the exchange? 7-2. I think that's more fair than the 9-4 as I was seeing this morning.
Yeah, 7-2. 3-1 Berkshire Rocco, 7-2 herself. And don't forget she gets the £3 mare's allowance as well. Santiago, a little bit weak now, out to 5.2. 6.6 Aldebaran. 9.6 Noble Prize, who's a stable companion of Santiago and is relatively weak, having been 7.6 this morning. So he's gone out 2 ticks, but he's Frankie in the plate. And like I said, can be no end improvement in those Galileos when they step up and trip. Yeah. So, it's not a race to get heavily involved in for my money, I don't think. So I'm happy enough to back Berkshire Rocco, and I think he could trade shorter in running. And if he does and we get matched, I'm happy at that.
A reminder that all 3 of us are going for Berkshire Rocco, and it seems like a lot of you out there have gone for him as well. I think I saw 5-1 yesterday, and he's definitely the punch of the race. Can we talk about Aldebaran quickly? This has been a rotten race for Godolphin, but he's the highest rated, and he's the only one that's really tested himself in group company so far. I know that Born with Pride has, but listen, this guy went to France, and it's worked out quite well at a French race. It's been a rotten race for them.
Have you delved into his pedigree, Dave?
I have had a little look at it. Let me remind myself. First time blinkers, we should say, for him as well.
Be concerned about that, Dave?
Yes, he's out of the reason why they're going for it, there's Mars Marvels in his pedigree, who's a Ledger winner, of course, for John Gosling. I want to talk about Gosling's run in a minute as well. Out of a Manduro mare. So it's Debawi, and you really would like to see the top line of the pedigree, I think. We're looking at the Ballydor horse, I think the reason why they do so well in this, as Barry has just mentioned, is because their sideline is so strong with stamina. They win derbies, don't they? That would put me off. But on the dam side, he's course winner. The Blinkers put you off a little bit as well. And Charlie Appleby's record, I think he's one place from 5 runners in this. It's not great. What about On Guard? Stradivarius won this.
Who?
For John Garsden. Exactly. On Guard.
He did win this, didn't he, Stradivarius?
Stevie Donahue taking the ride. Yeah, he was a big
He's
prize.
4 wins at the Royal Festival, at the Royal Meeting.
Yeah, so Steve Donahue takes the ride for John Gosden. Frankie's obviously switched. Not great, is it? Is it a case of Oppenheimer wanting a run here in these colours? I don't know, but he's completely unconsidered in the market. But I was surprised to see him quite that big because he was so unexposed.
Yeah, he was quoted at 8-1 in the Racing Post tissue, wasn't he? He's now out to
Double
21.
Out. Yeah.
Don't know, it's probably a bit of a neg. It's not a horse who on what he's done so far, I think has got anything like a valid right to get near Berkshire Rocco. But again, Gosden, no one knows the time of day better than John Gosden. This race is not a race that has a fantastic record for long shots, but I do need to give a quick up to the Jellies horse, Punctuation.
Yes.
There's the flat 8 in here, so if you like your traditional each-way betting, this is a horse that absolutely bolted up. Was it Kempton? It just went absurdly clear in a
SDS
short
rode in
space
that
of
day.
time. He did. And one of those people who've got far too much time in their hands that they study knee actions says that this was one that was really lifting them up and that therefore cut would be appreciated. So I thought that was interesting because the subsequent run wasn't great by any means.
On rattling ground, though.
Yeah, but it was on rattling ground. So it might be that if you could excuse that because this is a soft ground performer, then it's possible that Punctuation does have it in him to figure. And like I say, he's a big price. He's 30 on the win market. On the traditional 3 places market, he's 5.3. So if you were looking for one value or an exotic kind of price, then maybe Punctuation is the one for you. But I mean, I'm the more we talk, the more I'm happy to back Berkshire Rocco, although he's just lost favouritism to Bournemouth Pride.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So they're flip-flopping. Let's just go back to Punctuation. I'm sure this is the horse that I said he's huge. And you said, how do you, this? I'm sure that started our paddock debate.
Yeah, you might be right. Well, I'll keep an eye on him in the paddock. And,
and you tell me whether you think he's a whopper,
Okay,
like
I will
Battleground. Yeah, he's huge, this horse, and he does have that knee action. I think
Number
that was the worry
7.
for him. He's rated 89, so they could have gone down the handicap route with this.
The other thing that always does me when they're walking around the paddock and you're trying to say, is he big or small? You don't know how big the stable lad is, do you?
A good point. Yeah, absolutely. That brings you back to Potash, doesn't it, with Bob, of course. What a great interview that was.
Oh, that was brilliant. That was one of the highlights of the week, old Bob, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yes,
Superb.
yes. The groom of Potash, not exactly what you expect. And as Matt Chapman said, you don't have to be, small to work with horses. Although at the same time, you wouldn't like to see Bob running 6 furlongs, would you, down to the start?
I
It
actually
would be like me.
Oh yeah, running down. Sorry,
what I mean.
yeah.
You said it was a long way.
No, yeah, riding, yes. Running,
I must
no.
admit that made me think about Bob when you were talking about that.
Oh look,
earlier.
here we are. Here's Punctuation. We can see him on the screen now.
Oh, he's big.
Is he?
He's a big one.
Barry, can you spot a big horse from a small one?
Not unless I'm in a parade ring and I'm looking at them. I wouldn't be able to do it on telly, I wouldn't imagine, no.
Well, you can see the rail and the hedge there, can't you? I mean, if you're watching, we
There's
can
no
see
context to that, though. For me, there's no context to that. You'd have to be in the vicinity of the actual animal to be able to judge it and give it some context around its contemporaries, I suppose, who else it's racing against, especially with these. They're all 3-year-olds, so.
You spotted a small horse earlier, didn't you?
I did
Miranda.
actually, yeah. I can't remember which one it was, but there was a real small one. Oh, no, was it?
We're all
English?
progressive
I
on
can't
this
remember.
show, aren't we? We're all progressing.
I did see a small one, yeah.
That's what it's all about. And just to remind you, you're watching Racing Post live. Then myself, Dave Orton, Bruce Millington and Barry are all going with the well-punted Berkshire Rocco. Just nice, straightforward attitude. He will keep going. Tactics are interesting, chaps, aren't they? Because my one worry about him, even when I was contemplating getting involved at 5-1, 9-2, I thought he might just be there to shot at some point, There we go. We can tag on to him. Dashing Willoughby, if you remember, I think, did he nearly make all in the race last year?
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't bother
Doesn't
me.
body
Dave.
you at all?
Doesn't bother me.
I
Dave.
just
No.
thought that maybe
the only
something
thing is,
might try and get him at
I
it.
just do. I'm thinking of these, of all the ones. Are they going to stay? Are they not going to stay? I think he will. So I don't want a false pace. That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
Think about the races on the round course this week. The only one that really springs to mind was the Ribblesdale winner, Frankly Darling, who was up there all the way. I remember Ross Briley said, listen, punting and running, you cannot be with the ones that are attacking on this ground 2 furlongs out. They're just not getting home, and there have been closers coming, haven't there? So again, maybe I had that a little bit in mind. I'm certainly he will be up there, Berkshire Rocco, won't he? Looking for other pace angles in the race, maybe
sure.
On Guard, Santiago as well, Aldebaran maybe. I mean, there's no real obvious.
Santiago will be up there.
Yeah.
Aldebaran, I thought Santiago would definitely be up there. I thought Dabaran would be prominent as well. I don't think Berkshire Rocco is going to be trying to make it. Old Guard is possibly one as well that could be up there, but the rest I think will all try to be sitting in behind. Yeah, if I thought one was going to go on and try to his stamina assured, it's Santiago. I'm sure they'll make plenty of use of him.
Yes, indeed. So, I mean, the one who you will think would be looking to pounce, probably Born with Pride, isn't it? Does it look like she's going to go off favourite now, Bruce?
Yes, it does actually. She's just dipped under the 4 mark. She's 3.95 to back. Berkshire Rocco out to 4.3. Santiago very solid at 5.4, and extremely solid is Aldebaran at 6.2. Noble Prize is 10. On Guard 21. Punctuation is 30. And the absolute rag, Cloud Thunder and David Egan, 440. Can we have a quick word, Dave, about the Derby?
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, there's if Berkshire Rocco wins this well, I know it's 1 mile 6, so you're getting slightly off the plot in terms of the established trip. But that's another, you know, English King's position as Derby favourite. I think they ran the Derby trial very early this year, and you kind of thought, well, he's going to get usurped by this race or that race or that race, but he's still in there punching, isn't he? Is he your idea of the Derby winner at this stage?
English King?
Yeah.
Yes, I think he is. The way he travelled through that race was something special to me, wasn't it? I think the time was good apparently as well. For those
and would it
people that
worry
are on
you
those things.
if Berkshire Rocco blows out here?
Well, I think yes, probably a little bit.
How much other testing has that race had?
That's a great shout, actually. Let's have a look at that. It's difficult. We're at a stage of the season where we'd know now what sort of form we're getting to, wouldn't we?
While Dave calls that up, Barry, who have you got as Derby winner at this stage?
Vatican City for my money. We've spoken about this.
Oh, yeah, he's really keen on this.
Yeah, I'm really keen on Vatican City. I think it'd be the best of Aidan O'Brien's as well. Mogul was very disappointing during the week. English King, funny enough, at the moment isn't Derby favourite. He's second favourite behind Kamiko. And I suppose it all matters whether you think Kamiko will stay or not. Well, then, if you don't think he does, a real good punting race. If you don't think Kamiko's going to stay, the Derby looks a real good punting race. Then English King for my money, even if Berkshire Rocco was to get beat here, I don't think it's going to have any effect on English King's price because it's the additional 2 furlongs, and it'll be a case of, it looks like he didn't stay, or if he does even, whoever wins this is probably going to be favoured for the leisure off the back of this race until we have the Derby, that is. But at the moment, I wouldn't be crabbing English King's form if Berkshire Rocco was to get beat here.
You talk about the form, just interestingly, I've just done the since form on my Race Form Interactive. It doesn't look great when you're looking at it, actually. The third was beaten 25 lengths at the meeting earlier on in the week, but Sound of Cannons for Brian Meehan ran 5th in the King Edward the 7th, and actually has improved his form by £7 according to the handicapper. King's Caper ran in the handicap as well earlier in the week. He finished 12th, but actually wasn't beaten that far, so it's patchy basically. I think Barry might have nailed it there. I think that this is a horse that beat him so easily, didn't he, English King?
He did, but against that, if he's beaten a lot of not particularly brilliant horses really clearly, that's kind of a negative. I must say, Barry, I'm totally with you on Vatican City. I thought that was a brilliant run. I actually think he might even have beaten Siskin. I thought he was so unlucky, and he came storming through there. I thought it was an absolutely superb run. But I asked Dave, the pedigree ace, during Wednesday's show about, he's about the best bred 3-year-old in training, but is that a 1.5 mile pedigree? Now,
it's Glen Eagles, isn't it?
Glen Eagles, marvellous.
And the sire is obviously a Galileo. So I suppose, Barry, you're pinning your hopes on his father's line of the pedigree for that.
Yeah, and I know that obviously pedigree, it's 50% one and 50% the other, which, you'd hope that the male line is dominant there, and obviously it's got that Galileo bloodline in it. But for me, I just thought that was the best trial I've seen so far for a middle distance horse. He was never going to have the toe to beat the likes of Seskin. When it turned into that bit of a sprint of furlong edge, Seskin made his move, and the race was all over. But he ran on better than anything, and it looks like he'll come on a ton for that run, I'd say. And I think he's a good temperament as well. And Aidan O'Brien always speaks about the horses that win derbies have that temperament and are bomb-proof. And he's one like that. Now, obviously, it's a different dynamic this year because there are no crowds, there's no infield, and there's no outfield. So it is a different dynamic. So you might get away with not having a bomb-proof temperament this year. But he all indications are he's one of the better fancy Ballydoyle runners this year.
I need to watch that back, which brings me back to the members offer. Of course, 3 months, just a tenner. Racing is back, is the promo. Just go to the website, you'll work it all out. You get absolutely everything in there. I need to watch back that race because I thought that Siskin was the winner on merit, but loads of people are telling me all about some rough runs in behind.
I think Siskin probably was. But if you look at Vatican City, it's hard to say he would have got beat any more than half a length.
Wow.
It really is. And can I just endorse what Dave says there about the Members Club? You're getting 3 months worth of content for £10, okay? And that includes...
I wish you guys had stopped rubbing my nose in it. I paid something like 360 quid for a year.
You claim it. And the point A...
He didn't deny that.
You claim it on X's. I do the John McCrick middle finger point. And also, that's still value. So let's take yours. You pay £1 a day. You get a Racing Post digital edition. It's the actual Racing Post newspaper on your computer or on your mobile at 9 o'clock the night before. 3 of those costs more than a tenner these days. Yeah. And I'm not trying to talk the newspaper down, it's still great value. But that tells you, doesn't it, 3 months worth of Racing Posts on its own for a tenner is a ridiculous value. Honestly, I've worked for this business for so long, and this is a crazy one.
I've never known anything like it. And how many tenners have you thrown away on rags? Talking about the rags, we haven't mentioned Cloud Thunder as they go in for the Queen's Vase. We nearly didn't do this yesterday, and one placed, would you believe it, in the Chesham at 80-1. So Cloud Thunder for Heather Main, big runner for Heather Main and connections. David Egan on board. All form says it should be 1,000-1, not 250-1. But stranger things have happened. Bruce,
there's a move for Santiago, who is almost second favourite now. Born with Pride 3.65 and Santiago and Berkshire Rocco 4.6. They're off and running. There are 8 runners for the mile and 6 Royal Vase. It's just over a lap of the course. And cutting out the early running is Sylvester de Souza on the Queen's Runner punctuation. Covering that on the outside very aggressively is Tom Marquand on Born with Pride.
They're not hanging about, are they?
No, they're really not. It's a mad start. Aldebaran is 3rd. Nobel Prize is 4th. Berkshire Rocco is out the back. What does the market make of that, chaps?
Born with Pride gone into 11-4 favourite now. Bruce 4-1. Berkshire Rocco 5-2. Born with Pride now. She's gone favourite, should I say? Punctuation is 20 out in front, taking a bit of a keen pull.
I'd be surprised if she got home. I mean, if she gets home from here, we're talking about a serious horse. They're both doing too much. Once again, Sylvester going gung-ho. SDS on the far side.
Is an 11.42 sectional quick?
No, it's not. But for a stayers race, they're not hanging around. They're well strung out, aren't they? And they're just taking too strong a keen hold for me. Yeah. If you look at Aldebaran in 3rd, he's taking a pull as well. I'd be really happy if I was Frankie Dettori on Nobel.
Is the market overreacting to Berkshire Rocco here, out to 6th on the exchange in running? Is that an overreaction?
I was sure that he would be more prominent. Interesting tactics from Oshie Murphy. And look at the massive punctuation is in front.
Yeah, I must admit, he's slightly bigger. They're going around the bottom turn, so they're making their way uphill to the final bend now. And punctuation is 2 lengths clear from Born with Pride. From Aldebaran. Coming up on the inside is Santiago in 4th. Ahead of Nobel Prize. Moving into 6th now. Oshie Murphy doesn't want to let them get too far away. The rank outside of Cloud Thunder is being scrubbed along in 7th. And Stevie Donohoe is happy to watch them all from On Guard. Punctuation still with 5 furlongs to go. From One with Pride. From Aldebaran. Moving up on the outside is Nobel Prize. Not letting them out of their sights is Santiago and Ryan Moore. Berkshire Rocco has latched onto that group now in 6th. If you're backed On Guard, you need that one to giddy up a little bit. They're coming into the straight. It's still punctuation, but Born with Pride is looming up on the outside, being pushed along to try and hold his place in 3rd. Is Aldebaran. Oshie Murphy latching onto him now on 6th, and he's decided to take the bold path up the inside.
Come on,
as Born with Pride strikes for home. Aldebaran is still in there pitching. Punctuation on the inside. Berkshire Rocco is shut. The gaps open up, but on the outside, Santiago is there. Berkshire Rocco now trying to burst through.
Right,
Santiago's coming right
Dig
across
deep,
them.
Berkshire.
Santiago takes it up with a furlong to go.
Oh, he's gone right
Santiago
across him.
from
Come on,
Berkshire
Berkshire.
Rocco. Santiago
Come
with a
on,
furlong to go
Berkshire.
from Berkshire
Get up
Rocco.
there,
Berkshire
boy.
Rocco's not going to
Here
get
he
there.
comes.
Santiago is going to win it for Ryan Moore. We'll see what the
yeah,
stewards
yeah,
say.
yeah.
They're not going to turf it out because it's winning by 3 lengths. They're miles clear of Aldebaran, and Born with Pride is fourth. Santiago wins the Queen's Vase. Berkshire Rocco is second. Aldebaran is third. Born with Pride is fourth.
Oh, well done, Bruce. Millington, great call. You're right, dramatic scenes in the final furlong. But guess what? They've done it again, Team Ballydoyle. The two travellers off the home bend have come well clear. There was some drama there. He absolutely dwarfed Berkshire Rocco to my eyes. Berkshire Rocco was cruising, wasn't he, Bruce? Went for the gap. It came. You thought it was going to come to him. There was a little bit of interference, but look, he's got a lot in hand there. Well done, Paul Keeley. Well done, Dave Jennings. If you followed them in on the members' site, you've been all over that as well. Really strong betting market, Barry Orr. What was the story of the race?
Story of the race for us was we got our money back out of it, didn't we? We ended up winning 87 quid in the race on Berkshire Rocco because we set to lay him at evens in running, and he did, in fact, trade at 1.52 in running Berkshire Rocco. But Santiago, so we got matched, thankfully. Santiago now 8-1 favourite for the St. Ledger off the back of that. A really good performance. I suppose the lads in front kind of cut each other's throat, didn't they? They went too fast, Born with Pride and Punctuation. They set it up for a closer. When the gap came, I thought Berkshire Rocco was going to go through it and streak away, but Santiago had it covered at every step of the way. Like you say, they're well clear of the third. It's good. 2 nice horses, I would imagine, and does no harm whatsoever to the English gent form.
What a different size in physicalities the Baldings were. Punctuation, the giant, and Berkshire Rocco, didn't quite realise he was that small. He's going to be one of these horses, Bruce, Cindy, going through the season, which everyone's going to love because he's a traveller. He obviously stays quite well. Maybe Santiago will be the cup horse for next season, taking on Stradivarius. Have we got anything for next season's Gold Cup that usually is forthcoming, Barry, after a Queen's Vase?
No, just a quoted 8-1 favour for the Ledger.
Okay, of course, yeah, Ledger. So if you think about Fame and Glory, Landing Light went there and horses like that they've successfully done with. The other one, Noble Prize under Frankie, didn't seem to get home. Aldebaran would be your benchmark, rated 107. He's come way clear of that.
That 8-1's an interesting quote, isn't it? I mean, the horse is obviously taken an enormous step forward. They obviously really like him. And that's just proper form that now, isn't it? Because, we've got a yardstick with Berkshire Rocco, and so you can see that this horse has completely transformed from 2 to 3, and he's going to be a force this season. Santiago is definitely a horse to make a note of, I think.
Have you got a favourite? Yeah, well, I was. I was. I like the way that he did it. I thought he was coming back and curling up. And he hung over to the line. And I think when a horse hangs and goes on to win, I think it's quite a bit still in hand. First run of the season, goes on heavy ground. Barry, who's favourite for the St. Ledgers? Ragged start, Bruce.
God, look at that. I mean, there's a lot of scrimmaging there, wasn't there? Frankie's gone wide off stall 1 and not helped a couple of them. Santiago was I think, safe. There was no particular issue there. But that was an interesting race, that. Really interesting race. And I think that, this isn't always a race that has much relevance going forward, but I think this might be slightly different.
It will on the Ledger. He's 8-1 favourite for the Ledger, Dave.
8-1 fav.
Yeah, he's an interesting one in the Ledger as well, just to digress for a second, is Arthur's Kingdom, that finished the pile driver the other day.
I thought he might be the Ledger favourite, Barry. That's what I was asking.
Oh, sorry, no, he's about a 20-1 chance last time I looked.
Wow, okay, because that screamed Ledger to me, Arthur's Kingdom. Frankly Darling, I can see in some lists as well. It's a long way off, isn't it? But it's Gosden, you see. That's why they always think about putting one of his in. I've even seen that Palace Pier's got a quote as well. Would you absolutely?
Way too early to be thinking about the Ledger, but I mean that one's quite interesting, I've got to say.
Yeah. So, and actually, just talking about the Ledger quickly, a lot of people were saying because of the start to the season we've had. And if it was going later in the year, could this, the oldest classic, the last classic year, have a lot more attention on it than normal?
Possibly, yeah, I guess
theory,
so, yeah. Because there's going to become a point, isn't there, where we kind of catch up and we revert back to the normal way of doing things. I guess that will come after the Eclipse, which is obviously 4-year-olds and over this year.
That's going to be our next weekend back, by the way, on RP Live. We're bringing you the Derby, and it just happens to be the Eclipse as well. You're talking about reverting back to normal, just before I tidy up the result of that. 48-hour decks coming back next week. We're okay with that, aren't we?
Yeah, fine with 48-hour decks. I'm just not fine with 24-hour decks.
Yeah, well, let's hope you're listening on, and Barry will break that sentiment as well. So let's tidy up that result.
Wow, that start, sorry, Dave, that start was mad. They really were.
For a stayers race as well, you expect
Honestly,
them to.
that was as rough as you like. I'm glad they all stayed up.
Yeah, so I wonder whether that's interesting, isn't it, with the start? I was surprised to see Berkshire Rocco, a horse that's just honest. I was surprised to see him so far back. We'll have to have a
I think he probably snatched him up in order to avoid the scrimmaging there.
Yeah, that is interesting. So he had to take his medicine a bit there, Oisin Murphy. In the end, it probably didn't matter. It helped him conserve his energy. Don't forget to see the quotes in your members section as well, the plug that we were giving on for your special there, Racing is Back as your promo, because you get all the quotes from all the connections, and really going forward, that's the very interesting thing. Certainly when I get home of an evening, I'm thinking to myself, right, I just need to see these quotes for the next day. I want to know what the boys have made, all the connections, certainly the leading ones, have made of these performances. Let's have a social comment then. Okay. Commander von Roerich. I think that nearly caught me out. Quality form. Keep this race in mind for the future. Yeah, 2 coming clear of Aldebaran. Yeah, so it was Santiago beats Berkshire Rocco. Aldebaran back in 3rd. I'd be fairly positive about that, I think, going forward.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree with that. That was an interesting race. That potentially really, really good horse, and it's actually nice to see some relevant action taking place over a long trip. It's particularly what we were talking about earlier with how staying is going out of fashion so drastically.
Born to Pride.
I'm going to give that another chance because I think, again, you'd need to see more forensic analysis than just us sitting here with the naked eye.
I thought she'd be right out of the back, you see.
No, she wasn't.
I wasn't expecting that at all. Almost like they went out to make all, wasn't it? And Sylvester's gone, you're not having that.
You'd have to think that they've gone off too quick, wouldn't you? Yeah. So, in actual fact, she stayed on okay-ish for 4th. I wouldn't put a line through her.
That was our penultimate race there on Racing Post Live. We've got the Duke of Edinburgh handicap coming up next. That's going to be rough and ready. That's going to be a tough call, by the way.
Not necessarily. Why?
I think it's a rough race.
I've got this sus now.
You're confident. I like it. Will we get a tremendous late bid coming?
Well, that's the thing. I do need to make a tremendous late bid to get a tremendous late bid in. I definitely do.
We do, absolutely.
I'd written it. Look, I'd written it there.
Is that right?
Tremendous late bid, but nothing put one in.
The people are baying for a tremendous late bid at Sky Hill, absolutely. Barry, how's the betting going for you today?
Yeah, it's going okay. Okay. We got our stake back there in running on Berkshire Rocco. I think I said we won 87 quid. Obviously, Berkshire Rocco would have won us 87 quid if he had won, but we put in to take our 50 quid stake back out of it, and we got matched because the winner, Santiago, got traded at 1-2 in running 1.50. So we didn't lose any money there, but we didn't win any money. But into the last race now, West End Charmer. I'm doing the same again here. I'm back into lay this back shorter in running, and I'm going to green up this time. Last time, all I wanted to do was get my stake back because I really did think Berkshire Rocco was going to win. But this time, I'm going to maneuver it that if the race falls right for us, we green up by winning no matter what wins the race. So going to back West End Charmer at 4.9. He's 5.
Let's have a look at the market, Barry. Let's have a look at the market. Let's get it up screen so the punters out there and the players can see exactly where we're going. Welcome, if you're just joining us here on Racing Post Live. We're bringing the curtain down on day 4. Would you believe it? We're nearly on the final day, the sizzling Saturday that awaits us. I'll be springing out of bed like most of you tomorrow to get in and do all the form action. And this is an absolutely fascinating race. It always is. Usually by now we've had 2 or 3 prep runs leading into it, Barry, and the form has been collated. But West End Charmer, very impressive on the Guineas meeting. Are you expecting him to pretty much make all then?
Yes, very much so. Son of Nathaniel out in front, love the ground as well. I think he'll appreciate it more than the fast ground he encountered in Newmarket, and he'll go off in front. And I think that'll cause him to trade shorter in running, but he might just be vulnerable to one of the finishers, and that's why I'm going to lay him in running as well. So, Bruce, he's 4.9. It's 6. Durston, medal winner is 10. Good Birthday is also at 10.5 with Indianapolis. Le Don de Vie is 11, 14 Deja. But Bruce, if you have 50 quid on West End Charmer, just take the 4.9. I'm happy enough to take that. And then I'm going to put it into lay it at about 2's on and running, so which is 1.50.
4.9. Sorry, everyone. I didn't realise you were looking at my screen. I was spinning around. I've got this new mouse because I can't use the touchpad, and it's very sensitive.
We should make a point of that. You were given a Mac to use on, and I'm exactly the same. I'm useless on it, so you've got a mouse. You've done really well today, Bruce.
But this mouse is like an F1 car. You touch it, and it just spins around and takes you down the bottom. It's so sensitive. Anyway, hopefully you can all see now, because this is going to get technical, Barry. What do I do?
It's not. It's not one bit technical. It's quite simple.
I've had the bullseye at 4.9. Now what do I do? Hit lay.
4.9. Now hit lay.
Yeah.
And go to the odds and select 1.50. So at 2 to 1 on, I want to take £100 of the backer stake at 1 to 2, and then click keep bet, because that's obviously not going to get matched pre-race, but it may get matched in running, and I'm happy enough to sell that back in running at 1.50, which is 1 to 2, thereby ensuring a profit.
Barry, do you know any punters who kind of take out that kind of insurance every single bet, or most bets, just because they can't bear the idea of the horse trading at a ridiculously short price and just getting chinned? It's an option, isn't it? If you're a little bit risk averse, you can do that.
It's not even being risk averse. It's how you read a race. Now, obviously, for me, I'm not going to do this every race, but if I think that this is a front runner that is going to get matched short in running, and I've backed it, I'm happy enough to sell back. I'm happy enough to sell back 50 quid at 1 to 2. So I've laid 100 of the backer stake, hopefully, to lose 50 quid. If he goes on and wins, I'm happy enough with that. If he gets chinned, I end up winning as well. I end up winning 50 quid. So there's no harm in that.
Okay. By the way, Dave, I've got to ask you this, right? We're sitting in the studio and we're watching the Sky Sports racing pictures, aren't we? Have you fallen for this thing? You know that new Injured Jockeys Fund advert with Brough? And at the start of it, they have these shots, these jockeys on the ground looking like they're, at death's door. And I keep looking down and seeing, and I'm like, oh my God, what's happened? What's happened? And then I see Brough come on smiling and getting us to pay. I fall for it. I've fallen for it about 5 times.
No, I haven't. I must admit, I haven't. We're sort of watching, actually going in at Lingfield, there's meetings happening. It's almost it's unbelievable to think there are other meetings happening. I haven't yet, but probably now I will fall into that trap.
Okay.
Talking of falling into traps, I've got a potential trap here before I put up my tip. Good Birthday. Remember I tipped him on our opening return show at the Guineas meeting when he chased home a West End Charmer, and you could say that there was plenty against him that day because West End Charmer got the tailwind behind him, went on, happy days, and looked like a passing class performer in the making. Good Birthday ran on really nice that day, and I thought, a little bit disappointed with it, but I'll give him a chance. Mile 4, Andrew Balding, King Pal, what are you doing? You're really messing with me. I've had to go now. This is a cliff I'm not going to jump off. I've looked at the pedigree. Why are they running over a mile 4? I don't know. How can he be 8 to 1? I don't know. So look.
So you're not even going to have a FOMO bet?
I'm not having a FOMO bet. I can't. Everything I know tells me not to back this. Also, all the punters out there now going.
Do you know what?
We've got a winner.
I'm going to have a tenner on Good Birthday.
Dark Vision, Mark 2.
Yeah, it is smart because I'm just so nasty like that. No, I actually like the horse, so I agree with you. It's probably not the right thing to do, but I think people can get a bit hung up on trips.
Third behind North in the Cambridgeshire, probably the handicap performance of last year. Keith Melrose, our betting editor, said that before the start of the week. Hasn't that been borne out? And he was a knocked about third, so that's why I've got the business with the horse.
So who are you tipping?
I have gone for Indianapolis.
Oh,
like
every Shrewdy.
Last night it was 16s. He's now halved in price. I loved him when he won at the Shergar Cup meeting. He's one of these horses that I think he was inherited. Let me see where he came from. He might have been an ex-Ballydor horse. He was indeed. He was an ex-Ballydor horse. He's had plenty of runs
and of course,
James Gibbon.
Now he's 5. He's not Indianapolis Colt anymore, is he? He's Indianapolis horse.
Very good. He wears cheek pieces. Ben Curtis has had our opening winner. And stall 19, we've been talking all week about being wide over a mile 4.
Well, this is the stat of the week, isn't it, this? And Tom Siegel nosed his preview on it. This is an unbelievable stat, folks, OK? There's 15 runners in this race. No horse in from a single figure draw has won this since 2008. I
mean, that's ridiculous.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. And in actual fact, I've seen that of all the non-runners today, 3 of them are in low draws. It's almost like this sort of opposite to a Chester race where they pull them out.
Yeah.
They can't be doing that. Now, it's interesting actually that one of the non-runners is David Simcock, who's left Durston in, who's obviously very well fancied and is seen as the main danger here.
Who are in, and West End Charm and him are in 3 and 4 respectively. on a collateral line of form between them, there's 4. I mean, these handicappers are clever chaps, aren't they? They ran as 2-year-olds. They met, and West End Charmer thrashed Durston. He was giving him £4. How much is he giving him today? £4. And that's the penalty, isn't it? You couldn't make that up, could you?
But Dave, when you get a stat like that, do you kind of think, oh, hang on a sec, well, I'm just going to erase all horses drawn single figures? Or do you think, do you know what? That stat's obviously got some merit, but is it going to get overplayed? And should I then actually think, well, we're due one?
It happened with Huckham, didn't it, I think? It turned it completely on its head. Jim Crowley got the perfect run through. I think we remember saying when King George V was run, that basically they just didn't go fast enough. Because usually they slingshot off and it gets all like a little bit like it did in the Queen's Vase. It got a little bit tight, didn't it? And that's why you don't want to be on the outside. They come right down the middle. So if they go a proper pace here, which they usually always do, it's the older horse handicap, everyone wants to get that position. So when you're wide and you're on something in midfield, you usually get a charmed run around the outside and momentum into the home straight, that wind behind your sails or whatever, it counts for a lot here. So I think if you're Ben Curtis, you're thinking, I'm going to try and get a midfield sit from stall 19 of the 14 runners, obviously with the non-runners in there. But it's a perfect draw, I think. The one that I like, I think, against him is medal winner for Archie Watson. Not really a horse you associate with Archie Watson, is it? But we've seen that this week with Andrew Balding, who won the Windsor Castle. 5 furlong sprint horse. This medal winner's been quite impressive, actually. When he won at Brighton, okay, a lot of people sort of turn up their nose a little bit at Brighton, but it's worked out really well, that race when he signed off. Okay, he dead-eated on his return, or just won or whatever, at Newcastle. He was a dead-eat. I think. Oh, no, he won by 2 lengths, sorry. I'm thinking of someone else. But it was impressive. The horses, I think, going places. He's 96. I'm pretty sure there's a bit of juice there. He's drawn in 17. They're the 2 that I've played.
Okay. And medal winner, I think, is also 10-year trends. Kevin Morley, so
happy days. Kev's having a great week, isn't he?
He is. I'm going for glory here.
Go on.
This could be one of the worst tips you've ever seen, or it could be absolute genius. Getcha. Clive Cox has already had a winner today. Adam Kirby in the plate. Got form on soft, battle hardened, as exposed as you like, and therefore vulnerable. Drawn 11, that's good. Decent run back. Not that much to find on ratings, and just a pure value play. And he's 70, and he's actually at 75. It's one of those ones you're going to have your money, and you don't have to have a load on. It's 75, and you're probably going to kiss that money goodbye and never see it again. But there's enough on there just to make me think, do you know what? If the cards fell right for him, he could outrun his odds. And again, I've taken advantage of 4, 5, and 6 places here. So I'm going for glory. I'm trying to convince myself it's not desperation on Clive Cox's Getcha. The other one I'd have a little side order of is Johnny Drama, who again is nearly 20, and I think he ticks a good few boxes. I like this horse. Popular culture. Which American box set series was Johnny Drama a character from?
Oh, mate, I was going to say Johnny English.
You should know this one.
I don't know this.
Surely you know this one, Dave.
I don't know
Entourage.
Entourage, yeah.
I'm not an Entourage fan. Peaky Blinders, Abraham Gold, I knew.
He's good. Entourage is good, isn't it, Barry? You watched that?
Yeah, great show. Yeah.
Who trains him? Matt Dillon, isn't it? Yeah.
Who what?
Matt Dillon plays Johnny Drama, I think. He's like the older brother.
I know the show. I never got into it.
No, very good. But anyway,
aside
from all that, drawn 20, that's handy. Josh Bryan takes off 3.
He's a horse that I've fallen for a couple of times. I've fallen for because he doesn't have the win next to his name. And
no.
I thought when the rain was coming down, he might be there. Of the pair, and he's actually much bigger price, I could see Getcha coming into play a bit. He was a beaten favourite when last seen on the all-weather behind Battle of Marathon. That was earlier this year. There should be some residual fitness there. He ran at the meeting last year behind Sangarius. He was beaten quite a long way in the Hampton Courts over a mile 2. Watch that video back. You've got time to do it. I remember him being an eye catcher in that because I wrote the race up. The comment at the end of it is stayed on, never troubled leaders. I always like them quite a lot indeed. So,
I thought, as an outsider here, and he's an old horse at this stage, Holly Doyle rides Scarlet Dragon.
Yes.
King horse. I didn't think that was without a chance. Is he? Right,
yeah.
Okay. Well, one of them has already won this week, if I'm correct.
Alan King's.
Coeur de Leon.
No, I'm saying
that was Alan King's win.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Well, one of your Cliff horses.
Oh, that was Dark Vision, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the Cliff horse of the week. Paul Keeley, I've got a mate who follows Keeley, religiously, and he goes, "Oh, Scarlet Dragon's entered." And I said, what do you mean? He goes, he never wins, and I know that Kills is going to go for it. And he does every single time. And he's one of these horses, Barry, that he wears the hood and he travel. He flatters to deceive a little, I think. Be great for see Holly Doyle riding.
Yeah, she might just nurse him home, would she?
Yeah. Let's see who the boys have gone for in the Racing Post. I'm at the front of the tipping section. Kills has gone with Indianapolis. He's hot, having tipped Santiago last time. And Tom's also gone for Indianapolis, as well as La Don de Vie.
Yeah, La Don de Vie's interesting because Ryan Moore's got... I mean, Huey Morrison's got business in this race. I think he's won it twice in the past 10 years. And Ryan Moore has got a 25% strike rate when riding for Huey Morrison. So that's Tom Segal. We heard that Kills has gone for Indianapolis. Let's have an in-depth touch about why.
A low draw over 1.5 miles in a big field at Ascot has proved to be a real disadvantage over the years, so it's a little bit surprising to see the first three in the betting are drawn 2, 3 and 4. I think you've got to oppose them all, and I like the look of James Given's Indianapolis, who was drawn 19. He was fourth in the Old Newton Cup last year and then went to Ascot for the Sherga Cup, powered down the centre of the track and one going away. I'm sure since then Given has been looking at running him in this race, and he's got the draw and he's got the ground to suit him, and he must go well.
Yeah, this would have been a plan, I think, Kills. And James Given 5 runners since resumption, 2 have won. So, they're sort of finding their target. They're not behind schedule, I don't think. Le Don de Vie, we touch on him a little bit more. Epsom, wasn't it, where he came good a couple of times? I was worried about him on the lightly soft ground. I was looking at his pedigree, and he's how do we say this? I mean, talk about other sire, I never get to. Leroy Desanimo, have I just nailed that?
It's close, yeah.
That's really good.
Leroy Desanimo.
That's really good.
See, under pressure.
What about read out the sire and then the dam really quickly?
Are you setting me up here? Leroy Desanimo and Leaderine.
That's good.
Oh, got it. There you go.
Well
okay.
done. How can you do that and you can't pronounce Stradivarius?
I worked in a ground game many years ago, and if you call greyhounds, you just got it's so quick, isn't it? Go. Many moons ago, mind.
Did you? You worked in greyhounds?
Yes, with
when?
Clive Lawrence, who might be in the studio actually coming because the ground channel comes on.
I know.
That was Go Barking Mad. Yeah, that was one of the
What
first.
did you do?
I called, believe it or not. There's a long story about this.
That's an easy job, that isn't it?
I nearly got chucked out of the audition actually, and I could see this was just before Clive took it over, and I could see the boy. It was some Australians, Arthur Cooper, who you hear calling in France all the time. It was his baby. It was crazy, insane, hedonistic days of 2001, and we were all up in.
Look, there's the Bruff Scott advert.
Oh no, it's all right. The jockeys are fine. The jockeys are okay. Don't get fall for it. Hayley Turner's not going to ride another winner either. And just quickly, I could see them saying he's not going to cut the mustard, and the pressure got to me a little bit like Leroy Desanimo and Leadery, and I nailed one. And the next 3 years, I was a caller along with the likes of Paul Lawrence and some of the guys as well there. Yeah, and Clive took it over, and that was the end of me.
While we're on the subject of ground racing, I'd just like to pay a very quick tribute to Bob Betts, who was the legendary greyhound editor of The Sporting Life for best part of 20 years. The most fantastic man. Unfortunately, he passed away this morning, aged 75. I knew Bob when I was a kid working at Hackney Dog Track. I worked in the racing office there, and I mentioned to Bob one day that I'd love to work in journalism. It was always what I wanted to do. And he said, well, I'll give you a few shifts at the Sporting Life. And he did, and I managed to get a job there. And stayed in the game for so long, and I owe Bob absolutely everything. He was the loveliest man, and it was heartbreaking to wake up to that this morning.
Yeah, that's really sad, isn't it? And a nice tribute there, Bruce. And actually, before you became editor at the Racing Post, I knew you as a ground guy. That's kind of what
I was a greyhound reporter on the Sporting Life from 88 to 95.
Look at us now.
Had some brilliant years. And it's still a great sport, but. In the 80s when Bob created the Ground Life, which was that really lovely pull-out inside the Sporting Life, you had Skirlow Champ and Ballyregan Bob. And the sport was absolutely buzzing. It was brilliant. They were fantastic days, and he was a lovely man.
And don't forget, just after us, you can find it on Sky. Forget the channel. What channel is it on? The guys in the gallery will tell me. We'll give them a little plug, of course, because we've been topping and tailing each week. The Racing Post Greyhound channels. 175, there you go. I should know that, really. And the reason why I should know that, I spoke to a hairdresser mate of mine who usually comes in and cuts my hair. I've had someone else doing it, actually. There they are, they're the boys. I can see them sticking some thumbs up. And I said to him, what have you been doing? You've been laid off? He goes, I've become a big greyhound racing fan. I said, why? Because it was the only sport going at one point. So you have attracted new viewers, and everyone loves a bet on the dogs, don't they?
So you've been getting your hair professionally cut. I was thinking about that.
You're
well turned out.
They're calling it the Secret Service at the moment, aren't they? I won't name names, but I was a guinea pig in May, and my mate came in. He had the face shield on, like you've seen him in Waitrose, all that sort of thing, and all the supermarkets out there. He had the gloves on. It was a hot day. He was steaming up. I was like, "Don't be a hero now." And it's the first time he's cut my hair, but so they're getting ready.
Who's doing yours, Barry?
Yeah, that's a DIY job, as you can tell. It's not something that I'm troubled with very often. Got a clippers, thankfully, before lockdown, and my 12-year-old son turned his hand to it. So
brilliant. Yeah, my daughter's had a couple of hacks at mine, and it's not too
right.
bad.
No, that's good.
It needs another one now.
Yeah,
but,
okay. I had a bit of a step when I first saw you.
I know. Yeah, but she did her best.
She did.
It wasn't a bad effort.
She did. Some of the boys in the gallery, you should see some of their haircuts.
Oh my goodness me!
It's wild out there. It's absolutely there.
Well, they're all making noises down the earpiece as if their hair isn't ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Not ridiculous, lads. Not ridiculous, but it could do with a cut.
Yeah,
anyway. We are not too far away for the Duke of Edinburgh. He says, quickly changing the subject before they come in and start giving us real grief. West End Charmer is 5.4 now. Durston just edged out to 7. Indianapolis, really, really solid support still. That morning support has carried through. That is 9. It's 11 medal winner, 12 good birthday. Deja is solid at 13. It's 14 La Don de Vie. 13 Johnny Drama. Good money for that. They must have listened to me tipping it. 15 Al Mufri. 15.5 Dubai Future. I'm just scanning down the field and just realising how hopeless I'm going to be at commentating on this. Because
I told you it would be a difficult call.
Yeah, it is going to be a hard call. What do you make of Durston, Dave?
Yeah, well, look, we haven't mentioned him, and we should. This is one of Dave Jennings' strongest bets of the day. It's the Simcock factor, I guess, isn't it? I said if he wins this convincingly off the mark, off a weight of 9.5 from stall 4 with Jim Crowley on first time out, we are looking at a group horse. He will travel. He goes on any ground. But like I say, that collateral line of form, it wasn't at the case at the time. These two have been really well supported, suggested that West End Charmer should be ahead of him in the marking. Barry, remind the viewers who've just tuned in exactly where you've played.
So I've backed a favourite. Although he's drawn 3, I think he'll get off in front, West End Charmer, but I've backed him at 4-1, and I've put in to lay him back at 1-2. So regardless of what happens, if I get matched, I'm going to win either £50 or £150. One that there's a few quid for is Al Mufri, number 18. William Haggis, Tom Marquand, some late cash for that.
He's really talented horse. He's just a bit of a head case, is what I would say for him. But he's drawn out in 18. Do you know, I was going to make reference to him if we had time. He hasn't quite delivered what they were expecting, but really good race. Over to Bruce Millington to call the last.
He's got the double figure draw, Al Mufri. OK, so they're off and running. And first up, the key here is that West End Charmer has come out really, really smart. All those other ones on that supposedly unfavourable inside draw have all got left. There's tons and tons of pace on the outside. But what has West End Charmer's early move done for the market, Barry?
He's still just around what he was, Bruce. 5.5, 6.4 Durston, 11.5 bar. So no massive move.
Really interesting move this from West End Charmer, because all the outside lot, he came off the rail, William Buick, and he's kept them wider. So he's out, he's got the front, and he's not harassed that much.
I think that's Indianapolis who's given him most to think about early on. On the inside, the light with the orange is Deja. Also quite well up there are the King Power colours of Johnny Drama and Good Birthday as well. We've got Getcha tucked in on the inside. Also prominent is Le Don de Vie as they go down the bottom turn. The one out the back giving them all a start is Dolphin Vista. Well back is Durston. Only got 3 behind, and that is going to need a ton of luck in running.
That's how he runs.
As they go down the second of the 3 sides of the triangle that they have to do, it's West End Charmer out in front, being harried on his outside by Indianapolis, with on the inside looks like Deja. On the outside we've got Johnny Drama. Tucked in behind them there is a Godolphin horse. That must be Dubai Future. Yes, it is. Also prominent is Le Don de Vie. Also prominent is Getcha. Dave, anything to note?
I've been unhappy now that I'm on Indianapolis. I wasn't expecting him to be that forward, but William Buick has slowed the pace. Le Don de Vie's catching my eye. Look at Durston. No doubt he's going to play a part if Jim Crowley can get get some luck.
Medal winner is quite prominent as well, just beginning to nudge away on Le Don de Vie as they begin the turn into the straight. It is still West End Charmer. Unfortunately, Barry hasn't been matched yet. Indianapolis, his jockey's waggling his arms a little bit.
Medal winner.
On the inside, Deja going very nicely. On the outside, Johnny Drama is still there. They've still got to get to West End Charmer. Indianapolis still pitching there on the inside. And it's still Deja.
Right.
West End Charmer's still there. Is really, really battling on, and I'm not sure anything's going to land a blow. Deja's coming in. Nothing's coming from the back. It is West End Charmer from Deja, but Deja is coming there now and putting in a tremendous lead. It's Scarlet Dragon. Scarlet Dragon on the outside. Scarlet Dragon. Scarlet Dragon wins it. Scarlet Dragon wins the Duke of Edinburgh from Deja and West End Charmer. How about that?
Oh, we've just saved the very best for last, guys. Holly Doyle has that. Brilliant. So top and tailing the cards of the last 2 days. The last two winners go to female jockeys, joining Gay Kellaway, and now the leading jockey of all time for females, Hayley Turner on 2. Holly Doyle, what a ride. The Cliff horse, I can only hope my mate has backed him. I can only hope that Keels was on him. Came from absolutely nowhere. They went hammer and tongs. They just slowed it up a little bit. And the two pace horses that were up there, West End Charmer, he's run a blinder really, because he kept their pitching. And Deja was up there as well. But swooping, it couldn't have gone any better for Holly Doyle. Let's watch this back, Barry. How big did she go?
She only had a high of 65 in running, would you believe? And she's a BSP of 52.
What a ride.
We did flag it beforehand, lads. It's fair to say that Deja hit a low of 1.55 for 30 quid, would you believe? 1.55, 2-1 on Deja for 30 quid. But Holly Doyle, we said it beforehand. You said it was Keely's Cliff horse. One of his Cliff horses has already won this week. Now the second one's gone in.
I can't wait to see him. We're going to have him first this morning.
He must have backed it. He will have done because it's the last race.
What was the Betfair SP, Barry, on it?
The Betfair SP 52.
Woohoo!
And we didn't get done on West End Charmer, Barry. I thought we might have done.
I definitely thought that would have been the case.
3.25 West End Charmer.
Is that it? Is that it?
I thought we would have got done when he hit the front there.
Yeah.
And it looked like nothing was coming to do him, but only a low 9-4 in running.
Shrewd in running punters. No, it's been very difficult to attack off that bend and get home all week.
Two winners and a second for Alan King. What a trainer. Has he got runners tomorrow? I think he has.
Great shout.
Yeah, we better have a look, check out of that. But look at the replay at the head on. Holly Doyle has had to really swerve around there. That's absolutely superb. And for as Dave says, the second day running, the finale has been won by a female jockey on a double carpet poke. That's brilliant. Do you know what? Holly Doyle is absolutely brilliant. I'm so pleased.
Yes.
I said on Wednesday, I really hope she wins the race this week, and she has. She's just superb, and she showed just there how brilliant she is.
And she swaps over with her partner Tom tomorrow, who rides, who dares wins in the final race of the entire meeting for Alan King, now into around about 5-2 favouritism.
Look at that lovely smile there.
She's not forlorn hope for the Jockeys Championship either, is she? She's an 8-1 chance for that, having been as big as 25, 33-1.
That's a humongous shout.
I don't think she's a forlorn hope for that.
He's got a 2-year-old as well, Alan King, tomorrow in the commentary, which is difficult to see. It was 25-1 shot. Was an eye catcher, mind you, on Kempton on its debut. Maybe it's a lively outsider. Yeah, Alan sizzling. One of the greatest dual-purpose trainers of my time, that's for sure. So it was drawn in 12, went for an inside run, went for the Mountain Angel, had to switch, got it so quickly. This is a horse, as I said beforehand, he does travel really strongly through his races, but he wears that hood and he often loses it in the final part. I think he got very lucky that the pace setters quickened when they did, and he's obviously mowed them down and picked them up, but that was you've got to have great hands, I imagine.
And isn't that the second time today that Atzani's been chinned, having led with he was the American horse, wasn't it?
Yes, Peter Chapel-Hyam in those colours, the Phoenix colours, had two horses run well. Bawani Star and a blinder at 100-1 in the Ribblesdale as well. Peter showing he can still
Chapel-Hyam's a hot favourite, a hot trainer at the moment.
Yeah,
his runners
okay.
are going
Durston was
well.
disappointing there, wasn't he?
Yeah, but again, it's that curse of the single-figure draw. I mean, you can't turn in a field of that size and expect to be able to find a run, can you? When you're three from the end, you know. So that was the thing, though, wasn't it? All the runs on the inside, they all took a pull. It was incredible. The only one drawn single figures to make any sort of early move was West End Charmer.
Yeah.
Did everything right, ran a really gallant race, but just, you know, as you might have expected, and I think as Barry expected, just found a couple too good, Barry. But, you know, it was a good shout from you, and you were a little bit unlucky not to get done. He just had to hold on a little bit more, and what 2's on would have been snapped up, wouldn't it?
I would have thought so, yeah. Them's the breaks, isn't it? The race unfolded as I thought. Just obviously whoever's the other side of those bets never traded at 2s on. And looking now, it's obvious why, really. The other two were always coming with a sweep and run on them on the outside in the last 150 yards or so. But great to see Holly Doyle. We did flag it up as a possible outsider that was worth considering. It's just unfortunate I didn't consider it strong enough.
Well, do you know what, Barry? When you flagged that up, you made such a good case, and I thought, is Barry still talking? Have I got time to have a little sneaky bet? And I did. So thank you very much indeed, my friend.
There we go.
I think that's more because Keely always tips it up than
No,
me.
it's not. You're a better judge than Keels. Don't worry.
I got good birthday right, guys, didn't I? I didn't get Indianapolis right, neither did I the tips out there, but I was surprised that I thought that Ben Curtis would take a midfield sit, but like Born to Pride in that previous race, sometimes it just gets the better of them, doesn't it? And
I
Ben,
think the thing is, Dave, Indianapolis was quite aggressively ridden to chase the pacemaker. Yeah. So, I guess that was the problem there, wasn't it? And
West End Charmer, just go back to him. I think he's the horse that I'd like to take out of the race, really, because he did all the hard work, as we say, or whatever. And that's not a cliche that I like to say, but he had that penalty. It came only 12 days after his win at Newmarket, when we thought he was a little bit flattered because he had everything go his way. Is he the new communique? You know what I mean? That horse that's that Johnson horse that's just going to keep going. We'll probably see him at Glorious Goodwood in a handicap, maybe in a small pattern race. There's loads of mileage left in him, I think.
It's also a really good run from the second, Deja, because Deja was really busy early on, covered the early move, third on the inside, and to stay on like that and almost win the race was really good effort there. And we're just seeing on screen Holly Doyle being interviewed, and she would have loved to have all her friends and family there today to see her win it, and that's kind of sad. That's one of the consequences of it behind closed doors. But
Stratton, 3 Gold Cups now and there, yeah, quite right.
But look, I mean, we've come to accept it, haven't we? We miss being there. It's great to be in the studio. Having said that, I've absolutely loved it with you and Barry. It's been really, really good fun. I can't wait to do it all again tomorrow.
Yeah.
But this is one of those moments where it doesn't matter who you've backed, but if you're leaving the track now and you see Holly Doyle there, you'd want to just stand there and give her a little round of applause, because it's a great moment for her. And
understandably emotional about it.
She's so cool, isn't she? That's what I like about her. She's really, really calculating. She doesn't get pushed around. She's just terrific.
The only time I came across her away from the track was at last year's Derby Awards, which you were at as well. I don't know if you saw her there. You'd have to search for her. She's really tiny, as you might imagine. And I had a little chat with her, and she's extremely pleasant. And she was on that real roll then. Do you remember? Sky put a lot of weight behind her as well. She's one of the ambassadors for them. Her and Tom Marquand, one of the next generation. They do social media so well. And so the last two races, Thursday and Friday, won by female jockeys. Hayley Turner said yesterday, we don't want this to be a celebration. We want it to be a common occurrence. And just like that, lightning strikes twice. I'm sure there's more to come from her. Congratulations to Stephen Klein, who in your chat on your Facebook, if you're doing that with the YouTube and everything, you had that. Apparently you're quite big on it. Scarlet Dragon. Keels, did you back it? Let's find out. Goodness gracious me. I mean,
I'll text him. Just see if we get a text
before the end of the show.
Back.
We can get it. We're not far to wrapping up here on Race Day Live. Let us know. Of course, you can get the questions in for Bruce. Barry, we're bidding farewell to Barry Orr on the week. Neil Hubbard's going to take your place tomorrow. Saturday, I imagine you'll be sitting with your feet up, probably still watching the action.
I'll be watching all the action, but I'll also be doing a lot of talk sport. I think we've 4 live matches tomorrow, so I'll be on a lot of talk sport tomorrow. First game, I think, is 12 o'clock, and the last game is 8 o'clock. So looking forward to Premier League Saturday and have the racing. So what more could a man want?
I hope you're tipping the winner of the Watford game, and it will be Watford tomorrow. That's the first game at 12 o'clock.
And the last game, Barry, if you're on the radio, tip Wilfried Zaha to score the first goal. Okay?
Is that the bet?
Palace against Bournemouth. Barry, we better get some tips from you because you're not here tomorrow. So let's get your thoughts on what's going to happen. And obviously we'll start with the St James's Palace. We've got Pinatubo and Arizona Wichita clashing again. Palace Pier is really interesting. Positive, Royal Dornoch threat, and Arizona. Only 7 runners, but what a brilliant, brilliant race this looks. Who do you like?
Yeah, I don't know whether we should be giving them away for nothing, Bruce, because they're going to be in tomorrow's Saturday jury in the Racing Post. So,
we give the Racing Post away now. It's 3 months for a tenner. It doesn't matter. Come on.
Cost me $4.40.
Rubbing his nose in it again.
You're not giving it away over here, I'll tell you that. Anyway, Pinatubo, I'm taking that on tomorrow. I think he's a definite lay.
With Palace Pier?
Palace Pier, potentially. Wichita, Threat, take your pick. it's a strong race, and he's got a lot of questions to answer from me, Pinatubo. So he's a late tomorrow. I think Quadrilateral's a late tomorrow. I thought Run Wild, the filly that won the Betfair Pretty Polly, I think she'll go close again if she gets a soft lead. I'll be taking on Skeptical. He's a ridiculous price tomorrow. Truly is. I can see him getting bustled up early and not winning. I think Admiral Nelson could take a lot of beating in the Coventry. He looked an absolute monster in the Curragh, and he's by Kingman. I don't think he'll mind the ground at all, even if they get any further rain, but I would expect it to dry out. So I'm doing a lot of laying, but my one bet tomorrow, definitely Admiral Nelson in Coventry.
It's a hot commentary, isn't it, of course, and Mark Johnson's got one in that looks like a bit of a sizzler. Creative Force, whose form was well backed up as well, but Admiral Nelson, I think he will be quite short. Should we have a little reminder of what's happened here today? We started off on Racing Post Live with the Albany Stakes, Dandala for Carl Burke. And Ben Curtis, the first winner for Burke. Absolutely fantastic run. Massive gamble on Set Art, just foiled there. The Learjet, Bruce Millington put you on that one for Michael Bell. That was a fantastic race. Golden Pal in the Norfolk going clear. Some bubbles burst there. The Hardwick Stakes, Fanny Logan, aye, said Barry Orr. Put you on that 70-2 winner. And that was a crazy race. Golden Horde, perhaps the performance of the day, Bruce? Commonwealth Cup? Group 1 of the day?
I'd probably just about give that to Santiago, I think.
In the following, Queen's Vase, which of course was another winner for Team Ballydoyle. If you kept it simple like Paul Keeley and David Jennings in that, he saw off our Berkshire Rocco there, strong form we think. And the finale went to probably the story of the day, Holly Doyle, fantastic, on what we think was the cliff. I was still waiting with tenderhooks on Paul Keeley. I imagine that he's probably flat out, absolutely picking himself up. You will find out he will be back. He'll be doing the tips for tomorrow as well. We'll be recording all that live. So it's for me, Dave Orton.
He did back it. Breaking news.
He backed it. Happy days. No dark visions here. And we sign off with Barry Orr going, oi, oi. Barry, it's been a great week. Thanks for having you.
Thanks, lads. Absolute fantastic. We'll do it again sometime soon.
Absolutely will. I hope Barry will be back for the Derby weekend. Once Royal Ascot's done with, we'll be back for Epsom. Bruce, quiet night tonight.
Yeah, get my voice back, do some studying, come back for the final round tomorrow. 8 fantastic races. What a brilliant card. Cannot wait.
With a tremendous late bid.
Well, I don't know. I hope so. I can't top that one, can I?
I don't know. Every day we don't know what's going to happen. That's the beauty of it here on RP Live. Hashtag RP Live. Get your questions in whether you're watching socials, Facebook or indeed YouTube. For now, see you on the final day.